For those that don't know me, my name is Winthrop Wellington, and I've had the privilege of calling Negril, Jamaica my home for the past 19 years. And over the past few days, I've been sharing with you the devastating on-the-ground effects of Hurricane Melissa on Negril and the wider Westmoreland parish. And unfortunately, Westmoreland has been one of the parishes that has been hit the hardest in the wake of Hurricane Melissa. And in my travels in the last few days, I've seen things that are nothing short of heartbreaking. And people have completely lost their homes. Their lives have been turned upside down, and they need all the help that they possibly can get. And I'm using this platform and reaching out to you, my community, whether you are brand new here or you've been with me for years. We want to try to get people back on their feet. And we want to start with the most basics of needs, which is food, water, and shelter. And how I would like to do this with this platform and with this GoFundMe is to start with the Travelers Beach Resort team here in Negril and then spread out to the folks that I know personally that have been affected by this storm. And in doing so, I want to do it in a way that there's no red tape, no bureaucracy. Literally, donations, fund support will go directly towards buying these materials and getting it out to the people who need it most quickly. And we've already begun doing that because we couldn't wait for donations. Over the last few days, my brother has literally been going out with his truck to different communities without cell service and also without a clear line of gasoline and petrol, searching for different members of our staff and different members of our team. And we unfortunately haven't got to all of them. We haven't heard from all of them, but those that we have got to, many of them are in really, really disparaging positions, and we've already begun helping them and getting them supplies, getting them building supplies, and literally sending our maintenance crews out to their homes to help them rebuild, at least so they can be stable. And the thing with this situation is that we're going to be here for a few months. And when I say here, I mean no electricity, no running water, maybe not consistent, sustainable access to internet. And in my mind, it's like, how can we set these folks up to be okay, relatively okay, for the next few months? And that's where I want to put as much support as possible. So once again, whether you've been with me for many, many years, or you're just joining this community, I'm so grateful that you're here. And no matter how small or how large, in respect to the support that you give to this GoFundMe, it's going to go a long way and it's going to make a huge difference. And what's happening right now in Jamaica is bigger than any one of us. But together, I know we can make an incredible difference. So in closing, I thank you for your time, I thank you for your generosity, and I thank you for your consideration. And let's get these folks back on their feet as quickly as humanly possible. Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope you all are doing well out there. Hope you had a great week last week. I hope you had a great weekend. I'm reporting to you live from Negril, Jamaica, and hopefully to give you some updates that you may or may not be aware of and what's going on here on the ground. This was supposed to be Thropex Week 2025, but we've had to postpone for obvious reasons. But we are still doing a lot this week. With Thropex and with the many Thropex attendees who still decided to come down this week. And we are turning it into a week of brainstorming using the camaraderie of the Throp community. And then also a week of service and giving back and giving opportunities to the folks who are here to help out here on the ground and make a real difference. So we'll be talking about that in a little bit. As I look behind the camera, there is just stuff. When I mean stuff, this is all donations that you all have made, that you have brought down on suitcases, that you have sent here, and it really, really is making a marked difference. We're getting them out this week. We'll go through a couple of stories about how immediately impactful some of the donated items were last week, and it's just great to see and great to have so many people be so generous and wanting to give back and make a difference. And as I've been saying, this thing is a marathon. This is something we're in for the long term, however you want to put it. And this is the beginning in so many ways. This is just the beginning. And it's just going to take a continuous, consistent, committed effort to really get ourselves out of this and to I guess settle people, and hopefully settle people in better conditions and better circumstances that they found themselves in before the storm eventually. And I know this is going to take time, but my hope, and I'm going to tell you about a few conversations that I've been having this week with some influential people. Yes, I would more so emphasize on people who are doing the work and people who are trying to make a difference in how we move forward. And I would love to share that with you and have an open discussion with you on that, because to me, in my mind, Jamaica should be getting stronger and should have the aim of getting stronger as we move forward. And once we kind of find our lane, and the lane is going to be different for different parts of the country and different aspects in terms of how people were affected. So if you think about where the storm hit, obviously the direct eye hitting the country like that is the most devastating place, ground zero being Black River. But then also the as you go from, I don't know like the proper terms, but the inner bands to the outer bands, Negril being on the outer bands, I would say we were probably amongst the least affected of the storm affected areas. And I keep saying and will continue to say that we were spared so much, and we got super, super lucky in this entire thing. And even now, if you were to drive into Negril right now today, you would have to look for the sign, Negril Beach Road, let's say. You'd have to look for the signs that we had a hurricane a couple of weeks ago, because the cleanup has been magnificent, but also we just didn't get that direct hit, and it's as you start to move easterly along the South Coast specifically, that's when you start to see more and more and more effects of the storm. And I've only gone as far as waterworks. I haven't gone any further east than that, and I plan on doing that this week, as a matter of fact, as part of our give back, our day of service for Thropex this week. But that and so my point is like there's going to have to be a delineation, a differentiation of like how these places are served, and then also even like communities like Negril who have been affected, and it's very like a Negril is very, it's like hit or miss. I hate to use that term, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's not like widespread, but there are communities and individuals who have been hit by this very hard. And I also want to keep people in minds in terms of like understanding the effects of this storm. It's not only necessarily the devastation part, like in terms of physical impact to infrastructure, lost roofs, demolished homes, livelihoods torn up, like that's and loss of life being the worst aspect of it all, right? But like bringing down loss of life being the absolute worst, and that now bringing it down one notch to people losing their homes entirely and losing their roofs. But keep in mind that we have no electricity in Negril, and thankfully we have running water now, but there's no electricity in Negril. And just think about the implications that does to people's quality of life, and then also business, commerce, employment. And so this is like the trickle down effect. So you may be living in Negril, and like I'm saying, maybe your house was only minimally disturbed and minimally affected, but you don't have a fridge, you don't have a generator, so that means you don't have a fridge or freezer, so you can't store food as you normally would be and would be able to. And so it's going to, generally speaking, maybe be a little bit more expensive. But maybe on top of that, the place that you normally work is closed because it doesn't have electricity, or maybe the hotel that you work at is closed because it doesn't have electricity or doesn't have a generator, or maybe that hotel does have a generator, but because there's low occupancy right now because people aren't coming down, they're doing a shift rotation at that hotel, or maybe they're just putting people on hold, or maybe they're just closing because they don't have the business right now. And so now you don't have employment. So just like, extrapolate that out. And it's not, again, I just want people's minds to kind of go in that direction of like, yes, the devastation is the devastation in terms of the physical impact, the disruption, all of that of it, how it affected people directly. But then there's also outer consequences of that. Again, no light, no employment, that sort of thing. And so the struggle is real even out here. And again, it may not be, and I hate to say, like, it's not as this person deserves more than that person, or this community deserves more than that community. But there has to be a way that we can show and appreciate that some places are just worse than others, and that some individuals, even though Negril didn't get hit that hard, there are some individuals here who are struggling more than others. And I just want, people just to recognize that, and that the challenges for different people and different families, whether it's here in Negril, are the deeper you go into Westmoreland, it's different, but it's more widespread. So it's kind of more of pockets here, I guess, ultimately, is the point that I'm trying to make here. So I kind of got away of how we normally start, but we will get into that certainly a lot more, and give you guys some updates. Of course, I love always to hear what city, what state, what country you are chiming in from. I think that just always just kind of brings us together a little bit more, and get some engagement going on here in the comments. I know we're streaming across multiple platforms here. I figured in doing streams like this, that's important. So we got LinkedIn, we got Facebook, Instagram, and of course YouTube. So thank you all for joining from all these different platforms, and love to hear where everybody is chiming in from, physical locations, that is, not platform locations. Paula, what's going on? Thanks for chiming in from London. Jeff, what's happening? Chiming in from Montreal. Thank you, Marie. Appreciate you. You're welcome. You need doing my best to get you the information out there. GH, I worried about the students. What are they doing about their education retention? Great question. Big concern of mine as well. Because mind you, we're only, I guess, I feel like, I know it was like, what, 5 years ago, we were in the pandemic. We still haven't come back from that. If you even up until earlier this year, if you were to have a conversation with principals or teachers, and you talk about the effects of the pandemic on the student body in their schools, it's rippling, and they will still talk to you about it this day. And now with this, like, this is like a double whammy. This is a double whammy, and it's compounding the effect of the pandemic. And I don't think that's to be taken lightly at all. And it is something I think worth studying, and also putting measures in place for situations of this nature. And I keep saying this, there's going to be so much that is going to be taken away from this experience that we will have learned from Hurricane Melissa, and so much in construction, and where certain buildings are put. All of this we're going to learn from, but also in as far as like schooling with our kids, and this is a very different type of challenge in respect to getting students back to school. Because you look at a school like, I mean, I don't mean to laugh, but it almost seems insurmountable, and I know it's not. But just look, the physical damage of Manning School, right? It's so much, and it's just like so many kids now. I don't know what the plan is, and I don't know what to say. All I'm trying to say, it's like, it's more than just the effect of Hurricane Melissa, and we have to. And this is why I think like this stuff needs to be studied, and there needs to be, I believe, just an elevated level of effort that needs to be put into this generation of schooling. And I don't know if it's going to be something. I think it's going to have to be something more creative. Maybe it's an extra, I don't know, another year, but like, there is so much missed school. There is an incredible amount of missed school when you really look at the amount of hours that our kids are going to school in the last 5 years. And I'm looking at this from a much broader picture of being, yeah, like, globally competitive as a nation in terms of having bright young people, but then also in respect to these young people and them coming into the workforce. There has to be some period of catch up. I don't know what that is, what that looks like, but I do know it's like I don't think it's something we can just leave to chance and that it'll figure itself out. But kind of bringing it back to the Melissa situation here, I don't know. I don't know. I know they talked about doing like temporary tent schools, which obviously has its own challenges in and of itself, but something needs to be done. Even us here at Travelers, we have our resource center across the street from Travelers. But unfortunately, it's down right now. We lost our roof, but we're hopefully going to be getting it fixed this week. Our challenge has been getting building materials, getting the zinc that goes on top of it. So hopefully we'll be able to get that up and running as soon as possible, get the roof on. And I know we haven't fully assessed the damage in there, but I know we got rain and water damage. We try to save as many computers as possible. Point is we want to use that location as a resource for the community, which we did during COVID. And why I was also saying things are different with now than COVID is you have essentially an entire parish, Westmoreland, that doesn't have electricity right now, and many parts of it don't have running water either. Therefore, there's also no cell phone service and no Wi-Fi. Again, broadly, generally speaking, at this point in time. So during COVID, Digicel was giving out free credit. I'm sure Clo was as well. I just can't remember it specifically. But then also we had Wi-Fi. We used the resource center across the street for students to come in and have teacher chaperones in there watching the students do their homework and assisting with them. And so this is very, very different. Like you don't have broad, widespread telecommunications and or electricity. And that in itself is a challenge, but that shouldn't stop things from happening. That shouldn't stop things from happening. And as I've been saying, I think it's incredibly, incredibly important, especially from a human nature standpoint, to get back into a routine and to what would I say, reinvigorate purpose in people's lives, right? And that is, and I was saying it more so from the perspective of getting back into work mode for the adults, but the same thing goes for students. I think, and young people, I think it's just so important to have that anchor of a have the anchor of going to school, like really, really, really important, and having a routine and getting into a routine. It's just something that we as humans strive on, and we want to get folks back into that of all folks of all ages and spectrums, like getting back into the going to school, studying, homework, Kona work, engaging with employees, like all of that really, really, really matters. So the quicker you can do that, the better. So GH, I think where your head is at and how you're thinking like is incredibly, incredibly important. I don't know of the plan, but I do think it's critical. It's absolutely critical and something that we should be thinking about. Creation in the universe asks what update on the utilities, light, water, internet in different area timeline, power plant in Sav, Negril getting power from Hanover. Don't have any. All I have is rumors. To be honest, I don't have any specific updates. The CEO of JPS said 2 weeks for. I think he said 2 weeks for Negril. I don't know. The guys are out there working. I'm getting pictures and videos of both the beach road and then also on the west end of JPS people on the putting the poles up, all the poles up, all the poles in the grill. If they're not up, they're certainly out of the street. But they're working very hard. I don't know what that timeline is like. I'm unsure. And water we have in the grill, thankfully. Other areas, oh, who knows? I mean, Sav is that's what I've been most familiar with in terms of the place that I've gone to the most and seen with my own eyes. It's a lot of work. That's what I can tell you. It's like a tremendous amount of work. But I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea what the timeline is like for that. Let's keep rolling here. Lissa, bonjour, Throb from Quebec, Canada. Thank you for chiming in. Abu says, your GoFundMe really touched my heart, and I'm genuinely interested in supporting your GoFundMe now so that you can raise massive donations. Share your GoFundMe link in my inbox. Contact me with love and support. Thank you. Okay, appreciate that. Barbara chiming in from Connecticut. Buffalo Soldier, what's going on? Shauna, what's going on? Thank you all for being channel members. Much, much appreciated. Georgina, happy Sunday to you as well. And you are welcome. You're welcome. Nicole chiming in from Toronto, Canada. Strong Island in the building. What's going on, Linda? Rockville Center in the building. Hey, Lorraine. GH is from in the USA. I'm deeply involved, concerned with what happens in the grill. I've been a subscriber for well over a year. Thanks to you and my friend there. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Mr. Clinton chiming in from Canada, June, UK, London, UK, Dieter in Vancouver, BC. Awesome. Awesome. Stephanie's in Massachusetts. We got Michigan, USA here. Hello, Sarah. Ann Arbor, Michigan in there. Cool, cool. Mississauga, Delroy, what's going on? Jersey in the building. Juanita. Skies and Island Vibes chiming in from London. Tam from Toronto. Denise, Boston, Massachusetts. Lena, Germany in the building. Awesome. TC watching from Toronto, Canada. Erica, Petersboro, Ontario, Canada. Highland Park, Illinois. Leah, Muncie, Indiana. Jama, what's going on? NYC in the building. Fort Bragg and North Carolina. All over today. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Love to see it. It's Warwick, Rhode Island. And I've got a question here. Luke, what do you know about buying a Starlink to send there? Can the person pay for the service for the device there, or I have to pay for the service here, Florida? Yeah, you can. Tons of Starlink. I'm looking. Somebody brought a Starlink in today. Appreciate you all so much. Looking at it right now. So yes, you can send. So apparently you can buy a Starlink and get it DHL directly here to an address here in Jamaica. You can set it up here. I believe if it's set up here, don't quote me, but from what I understand, they're giving either a month or two for free for Starlink for Jamaica because of the disaster. And you could send it here. I had a gentleman come in yesterday and asked me if he could send his Starlink here. He's trying to set one up for his community on the West End. I said, absolutely no problem. So he's sending it here. And they said 5 days, but I also understand there's like a backup with Starlink. And like not with Starlink, with the shipping and distribution once it gets here in Jamaica. So, and on that note, like I just also want to encourage, and I know it's an extremely frustrating time on multiple levels, but like just exercise patience with a lot of what's going on here. We've never dealt with this as a country across the board, across the board. I'm talking about flights, shipments, Starlinks coming in, the hospital, grocery stores. We talked about, I put up a video earlier this week, I think yesterday, as a matter of fact, on MoneyGrams, ATMs, like all of that stuff. Like the system is being stressed. It's being stressed in a way that we've never experienced before. And so all of us need to exercise patience here. All of us need to exercise understanding. And all the time, it's not like it's not that somebody is trying to get over on you. All like in all these cases, it's not that somebody is stealing something from you, or taking away something from you, or the government is taking something away from you. And that continues to, I see this a lot on social media. And maybe it's because like they're backed up and it's going to take a little bit longer than normal, and it just kind of is what it is. It's like it should be expected at this point and at this juncture. Like things are not going to run normal. Things are not going to run as smoothly as you expect. And plus, look at what's happening in the U.S. with the government shutdown. Thankfully, it's opening back up at this point in time. But all of this is having a compound effect on everything. And I would just encourage people just to just broaden their perspectives a little bit in terms of putting yourselves in the shoes of these professionals, whether they're on the airline or they're a customs agent, a taxi driver, a person in a store. the MoneyGrams of the world, the banks, all of this. It's this unprecedented situation for all, and I just kind of want to remind people of this as we go through all this. Let's keep rolling here. Janet, Warwick, Rhode Island. I think I said that already. What's going on, Janet? Hope you are well. Christy chiming in from ATL, USA. Good to have you on here. Chris, what's going on? Big up from Japan. Nice to see you. Not in Strong Island this time. Okay. What part of Japan are you? Hope you're having a great time over there. Simone, what's going on? Nice to see you. It's hard to talk to anyone from St. Elizabeth. Yes, 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 yes. Still having. I talk to people there seldomly, but yeah, they're still having some telecommunications channel challenges over there. But it's coming. It's coming. Nicole Natalie says, and not only time to rebuild, but to land use planned communities as it relates to natural disaster management to strengthen climate change resiliency and access to community service amenities. Yes, I mean, great point with that. We're going to talk a little bit about that shortly as well, in respect to land use and really titles. All of the roads open up. It depends on what you consider all of the roads. All of the main roads are opened up, but in some communities, still impassable. Still impassable, especially in the deeper parts of Westmoreland. All right, let's keep rolling here. Okay, lots of comments here. Winnipeg in the building. What's going on, Deborah? Chiming in from London, UK. Awesome. A lot of people in Europe and UK. Copeland Russell, is it true that Negril Beach is destroyed with seaweed? No, not even close. I took a nice walk this morning and it was fine. I think we probably, I haven't gone the whole beach to be honest, but I haven't seen a lot of seaweed on the beach. And we probably had the most seaweed on travelers. And I mean, and this was, I think, yesterday, and it's all gone now. But no, as far as I know, no, Negro Beach is not destroyed with seaweed. And even if I always look at seaweed as like a good thing. Thankfully, we don't really have a sargassum problem, knock on wood. But when we do have seaweed, to me, it helps preserve the beach, and we dig trenches and we bury it. But no, we don't. We don't have a seaweed situation here at all. Came my way, chiming in from Florida, ATL, Ocean City, Maryland, DMV, Maryland, awesome. UK, CH, what's going on? Iowa in the building. Nisswa, Minnesota, awesome. All right, all right. Let's take a couple questions here, and then we'll kind of get into the agenda. Kimberly Acton says, Throp, can you please advise me on solar power banks that are TSA approved? I'm going mad trying to find good ones that can go under the plane. I don't know. I'm not the right person to ask that. I would say contact the airline and but it should be I feel like that shouldn't be too hard because I see a lot of people. I know I'm like looking at all this stuff there. People have told I haven't gone through everything that's being donated, but I know we have solar power banks in there. So it should be okay. But I would also say if you're about to buy something, just double check, give the airline a call. Or I know Delta has like that chat app that is really, really good and really responsive. So maybe give that a shot. Sorry, I wish I could be more helpful with that one. All right. Marnie says, "Hi, Thorpe. I'm based in UK, and I'm leading a community of Caribbean lawyers that want to donate and support the rebuilding. Can you recommend a reliable charity on the ground?" I have personally been pushing everybody to the Negril Rotary Club, and the reason why is like I know they're doing the work. I like the systems that they have in place, and like they are making an immense difference. They have been already. So Rotary Club of Negril, that's who I've been pushing specifically here in Westmoreland. I know there are others there. American Friends of Jamaica and also Food for the Poor as well are like the bigger organizations. But to me, Rotary Club of Negril, they're doing an amazing, amazing job here in Westmoreland, and they are really, really making a difference. Mama Pineapple says my boyfriend friend in the grill was told he couldn't receive any more Western Union money until next month. It's been overloaded for sure. Yeah, yeah, yep. All that stuff has been overloaded. Mark, thank you so much for the donation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Much appreciated. Appreciate the support. Thank you, thank you. All right, tons of. I'm sorry, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here. Deborah has asked how have you now had contact with all your staff? I believe so. I should actually check with my brother on that. I'm almost certain that we have at this point. But haven't they, everybody hasn't come in yet because they got stuff going on in their life that is like in like their homes and their family and stuff like that. So not everybody has come in yet, but I want to say I'm 95% confident, and I will follow up on that. I'm 95% confident we've touched base with everybody. Okay, Camille, super. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so make sure I just got the last of these questions here. Stephanie says, has there been any relief provided to hotels in the grill that have been impacted? Coconuts and canoe are of my favorites. Um, no, not that I know of. That I mean, the I was just having this discussion, right? And of like the impact on tourism that this is having. And tourism, without question, is the lifeblood of Jamaica's GDP and economy. Like it just is. And we've taken like a real hit. A I think we've taken a reputational hit in a big way, and then also we've taken an inventory hit, especially in the Montego Bay area. So I don't know if you're aware that we have there are. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can. One second. But there are essentially hundreds of no, no, no. Thousands, I would say, thousands of hotel room inventory that is no longer available right through December and then some into even the spring across the I would say even basically the North Coast. I guess you can right across the North Coast. And that is, I don't know what the economic impact of that is, but I'm sure it's in the hundreds of millions. I mean, it has to be in respect to lost revenue, lost tax revenue, and then also the cost associated with bringing these hotels back physically. So, yeah, that's going to be the impact is immense. Is like truly truly immense, the economic impact that is. And I know people are like, and maybe I won't go down that path, but we have to think about, again, as we when I on earlier on the stream, where we're talking about the impacts of this storm on people that it may not have necessarily affected physically in terms of the house and their community, but the rippling effects of not having electricity, not having water, not having internet, not having phone, and then in many cases not having a job to go to is it's crushing, right? It's crushing. So you have like an 3, 4, 500 room hotel that is completely shut down, and you'd think probably close to 85 to 90% of that staff is being made redundant because that hotel has to close for 2 months, 5 months, some of them 6 months, some of them actually have been reported. And those folks are not can't go to work, and then also, more than likely, they've also been affected by this storm in some way, shape, or form in terms of like their homes, their roofs, their family that they're also dealing with. And then on top of that, they can't go to work. And I'm telling you, People want to go back to work. They want to go back to a routine and to get back at it. But now, with if hotels are going to be closed, that's having like a huge impact on everybody's well-being, like across the board. And then, like, now move into the reputational aspect of that. Now you're having now there are thousands of people that would have otherwise come to Jamaica, but because their hotel is closed, and maybe, in their minds, and I see this misconception out there, and it's unfortunately being perpetuated by misinformed people, but then also these social media influencers that are using this as a way to elevate themselves. And so they are sensationalizing the devastation, and it's already devastating enough, making it seem as if like the entire country of Jamaica has been destroyed, and that Jamaica looks the entire of Jamaica looks like Black River, and that's just not the reality here. And in many people's minds, many prospective travelers and visitors to Jamaica, that's what they feel like Jamaica is, how Jamaica is right now. Hey, I'm not coming. Where that's not the reality, where you can come to a Negril, you can go to an Ochi, you can go to a Kingston, and you'd be soon to be none the wiser. When I say soon to be, because I hesitate or put an asterisk next to that, because we don't have full electricity here in Negril at the moment in time, but in a few short weeks we will, and we'll be back to business, in relatively back to business, I would say. Kingston, forget about it. They are back to their lives. I mean, so many people have told me that who have flew into Kingston and have brought aid from Kingston to Negril, and they almost were upset. I wouldn't say almost, they were upset. And they were just saying, like, how could people in Kingston just pretend as if nothing is happening over here in the West, and they've gone back to their normal lives, and they're partying and they're going out to dinner. Like, and I don't blame them at all. The Kingstonians, like, I don't blame them at all. I think it's so important for them to live normal lives, so to speak. But at the same time, don't forget about us here in the West. Like, we need all the help that we can get. But it's so important for the economy. And I think we are also very lucky as a nation that we do have a part of our nation that is, and the capital part of our nation, and where the finance and the money is of our nation, that they are more or less, they're unscathed. They're unscathed. And they have a huge responsibility, that a huge responsibility to the rest of the country, to be just so much more productive, and to just do better, because we can't. And when I say I'm talking about the West here. We don't have that privilege at this point in time, and I think it's important that they, as a cities and towns out there in the East, that they take this responsibility seriously, and then they go about their lives. And there's no point in all of us as an entire nation, like, holding our heads down and not being productive and feeling sorry for ourselves. I'm not saying that we're doing that here in the West, not by any means, but you get what I'm trying to say. And so I remember I saw on Twitter the other day that they were thinking about, somebody was like, they should cancel Christmas. I'm like, what are you talking about? Cancel Christmas for what? For what? No, we need to get this engine going. It's so important. And we're not even in, remind you, we are still in the recovery and relief phase. We're still trying to get to communities. We're still trying to get what would I say, a reliable, predictable pipeline, food, water, electricity, to many communities that are super spread out across, I can't even just say Westmoreland, but across the island, across the path that Melissa took, right? And so it's important that we understand that. And then eventually we're going to be moving into the rebuilding phase. And we should, and I'm sure, I haven't heard anything, but I'm sure that there are a bunch of smart people that are thinking and making plans for what that rebuilding phase looks like. They're ideating, they're testing this, they're testing that, all that stuff. But imagine, like, we can't really we're what would I say? We're still boots on the ground here. Like, we're like, every day I can tell you, like, kind of going through my daily life here, like every day, some element, some part of my day is geared towards helping people, are geared towards figuring out how to help the next person. And that's our day to day here in the West. And like, we're so lucky as a nation that there are a large portion of the population that doesn't have to think like that, and they could think a little bit more broadly than we can over here, and then they can strategize a little bit more while we're still boots on the ground, rescue recovery mindset, getting aid to people, and that they're figuring out, those folks are figuring out the rebuilding phase, because the rebuilding phase is going to be very, very, very important to the future of Jamaica, and also really dictate how we bounce back from this from an economic standpoint, which is very important for the livelihood of Jamaicans right across the board. And that goes for the folks who have been affected and impacted by the storm, and those who have not been affected and impacted by the storm. Sorry, long rant, but thank you for the opportunity. All right, let me go down to some recent comments here. Kimberly, thank you so much for being a channel member. I appreciate you. Welcome to the club. Let's see a few more comments here. Metro Atlanta real estate and mortgage, Simone. Perhaps we adopt the community in Westmoreland or wherever your heart leads, so we can assume that funds and assistance reach those faster and more directly. So just in general, I would say it's also something I want to talk about a little bit later, but I'm sensing, and we're still not even 3 weeks out. We're almost 3 weeks out since Melissa made landfall. But in general, we got to get to a point where and I was stating this in last week's stream, the understanding of the impact of this storm needs to be assessed and needs to be fully understood. And I don't think that we're there yet. And just going to give a quick example here. I'm going to bring up a map. One sec here. All right, so we got a map up here. And so like just take Westmoreland, for example. And I want to say, all right, so here's Negril. Like, so of the towns in Westmoreland, Negril, generally speaking, was the least affected of this storm. But however, sure, everybody, wait, you guys are not seeing what I'm saying. Sorry, 1 second. You see that? I don't know why that disappeared. Okay, let me go back. Okay, so map of Jamaica. Just so we're on the same page, don't want to assume anything. This is Black River. And this is where where Melissa first made landfall. So basically, the closer you are to here, the harder hit and the most impact that you felt. So as we move out, like, so White House is really bad, Bluefields, Belmont, really bad. And then so we're in Westmoreland now. So I'm only saying Westmoreland because like this is just what I know best. I'm not trying to take anything away from any other parish or anything like that. This is just what I know best. So this is the furthest I went, basically up here towards Whithorn, to Friars Cross, and I haven't gone to Bluefields, I haven't gone to Belmont, haven't gone to White House. Going there this week, Tuesday. We'll talk a little bit about that shortly. But the devastation you can start to see, I would say definitely Little London. That's when you would start to see like real, like, yo, this is crazy. And there is some stuff, don't get me wrong, there is some, yo, this is crazy, kind of in Sheffield, and of course, like I said, pockets here and there in Negril. But you start to see the widespread devastation as you move east. Like in Little London, all these light poles were down, and then As you move into where are we? I missed Sav. As you move into Sav Lamar, you see that it's a lot more densely populated. And so the impact of the storm is going to affect so many more people in terms of numbers. And again, a lot of light poles down, no water, no electricity here. And then as you move into Smithfield, if you watch the video, the driving video that I did to Waterworks, this is the solar farm. Unfortunately, pretty much 90% destroyed. I just saw them piling up all of these solar panels, which is really sad to see and unfortunate because this is just such an amazing, amazing project, which I will say the proprietors have recommitted to rebuilding this, which I think is really amazing and appreciate their commitments to the island and this part of the island. So as we continue here, to go east. Where am I? Waterworks. Okay, as we continue go east, and so like let's just zoom out just a little bit, right? And you got like all these little like these little towns: Amity, Hertford, Petersville, Petersville, Petersfield. Those are two different things I'm learning. George's Plain, Frome, with Benta, I'm curious to see how they have done during this storm. Haven't heard anything about that. Same with Roaring River, Rastafari Experience. I've been there before. Whithorn, Caledonia, all these places, all these little towns, right? Betheltown, Seaford Town, Darlaston. We heard about these places, and there isn't, at least from what I understand, there hasn't been like an assessment, a full assessment understanding of how these little towns were impacted, and that it's all being fed into just one system to know that, all right, we know like if we're sticking, let's stick with Westmoreland, for example. We know that White House, Belmont, Bluefields, really, really bad. We're talking about people like complete house lossage, or like widespread, right? Let's say like if you're in White House, this is just an example. I'm not saying that this is the way, but I'm just trying to make the point that this level of understanding needs to be had in order to attack the problem efficiently and effectively, right? So let's say if you're starting here in White House, we have 80% house loss. Just a number. Don't take my word for it, so to speak. We're just using an example here. But as you move out to Negril, maybe we're down to 7 to 10% house loss, right? But that needs to be assessed. That needs to be assessed. And maybe we're here in White House, like there is no regular access to food and water. Like, hey, 90% have no access to food and water, whereas we go back to Negril, we're probably closer to 3%. And so I feel like all of these little towns that we have here, there should be energy put towards figuring that out. And you can drive, probably take, if you wanted to do it right, it'll probably only take you 2 days to drive to these places, like literally physically drive to every single one of them and see for yourself, or maybe send somebody. That's maybe ineffective or inefficient, I should say, but definitely effective. And then get an understanding, but then also, having multiple discussions with different people, having like a I don't know, not a town czar. What would I call them? But a marshal, maybe, that for each one of these communities, that knows the communities, that knows the people who are in there. I don't know. Also, I don't know what the population of each of these communities. I think that's also important to understand. But yeah, I think one of the first areas and ways to be attacking this problem is really understanding what it is. And I know the last 2 weeks, social media has been really used to rely on for information, and I think that's just kind of the way it was working, where people were like, hey, nobody got to Darlaston, nobody got to this, and like people reacted. Petersfield, now in Petersfield, there's like tons of aid, there's tons of support. And I don't know, I don't know like what bar are we measuring that off of, and there's also widespread reports of like an oversaturation in some area, an oversaturation of aid in some areas. I had put out a reel earlier this yesterday, sorry, talking to some folks in sorry, I don't know why this thing keeps on disappearing on us here. Talking to some folks in Bluefields. Essentially they were saying that they don't need any more food. They don't need any more canned goods. They don't need any more water. Like what they need is they need roofs over their head, you know? And so to me, it's just like, okay, they're ready for the next phase. Let's get people and professionals and equipment and construction material in to help them get to their next phase, right? And so yeah, I guess I'm just advocating for more organization in that respect. I'm sure we will get there at some point in time, but I think some areas are screaming for that now. And maybe you can start shifting the aid to the areas that need it. But again, in order to do that, you need to have some sort of reliable assessment and information that you can kind of pull the trigger on that and move in that direction with confidence. All right, let me go down to. Sorry, I'm missing tons of comments. So, all right, let me get rid of this map. So, great suggestion, by the way, Simone. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Noel says the government received millions of donations and monies. We want to see those monies putting to work, rebuilding the working economies. I mean, that money is a drop in the bucket. I'll tell you that. You know, I saw the last I checked, maybe somebody else can check it. I think at least it was like at least a week ago. I think the government charity and the government website, like it was like only it was less than 2 million US dollars. And I'm like, wow, that's it. That's not going to do anything. That's not going to do nothing. 2 million US dollars is like compared to what needs to happen. I mean, it's trust me, grateful, super grateful. But I'm just saying the gravity of the situation calls for hundreds of millions, and I think you even said 6 to 7 billion US dollars. And so it's a start. It's going to help, but we got a long way to go for sure. Got a long way to go for sure. Adrian says my girlfriend in the grill still has no roof on her head. How can she get help? Um, we are. That's the thing. I don't know. That's the thing, like, building material is definitely needed like crazy, like, right across the board. I know they had I think it was the JDF, don't quote me on that, but I believe it was the JDF. They had their Coast Guard ship, like, literally right in front of Travelers, as a matter of fact, and they did some aid support yesterday. They're supposed to be coming back, but I don't know of any building material, which is, trust me, very hard to get at this point. I know this is a for now situation, and at some point we will be flush. We'll be flush, but that's kind of the challenge right now. Kimberly says, "Cancel Christmas? Question mark? Question mark? I just purchased pretty Christmas dresses and gifts for an 8, 9-year-old girl. The kids need something to soothe them. Backpack full of little girl stuff. Absolutely. No question. We are not canceling Christmas here." Mama Pineapple says, "Is it wise/safe to book a hotel online in a grill from 31st of December to January 8th? I really want to see my boyfriend and his family so badly. Will it help the economy?" Yes, absolutely. And so this is like a common misunderstanding, I would say, and people being misguided by this notion that you shouldn't come to Jamaica. But No, we need you. I'll tell you that straight up. We need the tourism. We need the economy to be boosted by your presence, and by coming here, I promise you, you're going to be helping so many people, and you already have a significant other here. And just getting on that plane makes a huge difference. I'm sure you're going to be bringing aid to be distributed, care packages, that sort of thing. But then staying at a hotel, you have people that are going to be coming to work and going to be doing what they love, and you contribute to that in a big way now more than ever. So I keep encouraging people to come to Jamaica, come to Negril, come to Jamaica. It doesn't have to be Negril. There are many parts of Jamaica that are still fully operational, and I bet by the time you come to Negril for New Year's, we'll be Negril will be more or less back to normal in a big way, and you should not be canceling especially in the winter, especially as you move into December, January. You should not be canceling your vacation. I mean, unless your hotel is closed, which we talked about earlier, and they're not in operation, that's a completely different situation. But for the most part, Negril, I keep saying this, has fared very well. I'll be putting out a Negril driving video tomorrow, so you all can take a look at it and see what Negril looks like just a few days ago, and it continues to improve every day. Tisha says, they say that I hit White House in Westmoreland. Some say Black River. Yeah, very close. They're very close. Let's keep rolling here. Let's see some more questions. Noah says, as an engineer looking at the amount of free flowing streams throughout Jamaica, it should be in the planning committee, start piping those free flowing waters closer to communities cheaper. Good idea. Andrea Miller says the diaspora overseas are not able to mobilize effectively because things are not organized. By parish, we really want to know an itemization of who needs help, and building by building, people can help. Yeah, it's not there yet. It's not there yet. I think it will get. I hope it will get better. I know it will be better. I wouldn't even say hope. It's still early days. It's still very early. And I always, even last week I was just saying, like, remember, and please, I stand here waiting to be corrected or to be adjusted on what I'm about to say. Is like, can we think of a natural disaster where you look at any municipality, any sovereign nation, and say, like, hey, they handle that perfectly. They handle that exceptionally well. And there's none. I can't think of a situation. I can't think of a situation where a natural disaster occurred and just things just went so smoothly. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen, and things are going to take time. And I even look at, like, the US, the US, richest country in the world, the most sophisticated, supposedly, arguably, and the natural disasters that they've had. I mean, we could think about so many over the years and over the decades where they had just dropped the ball tremendously. And Jamaica is trying, and I will also say that, none of these people. I was on a call with the Oh, let's just say I was on a call. I was on a national call last week, and everybody's working so hard. I'm telling you, all of these big organizations, these utility companies, 24/7. Like, they are working hard. Like, nobody is sitting on their hands. Everybody knows and understands the responsibility that they have. The responsibility of the nation is on their respective shoulders. And all of the leaders are pushing their teams to work countless hours, 24/7, round the clock. And we have to remember that, and keep that in mind, that, like, these people are not getting sleep, and they are continuously working as hard as possible. I think, and this is also, I think this needs to be studied, is, and this is kind of, we're going to be going into a different artery here, is like the bandwidth or leeway of trust that Jamaica has going into Melissa was just so small. And I think it has a lot to do with coming off of, and just feeding off of the political climate of the recent election that we've had. But I think from a historical perspective, there has been just a extreme lack of trust by the government, authorities, utility companies, et cetera. And this is very much playing into the lack of togetherness and in many respects that I'm seeing here, the lack of trust. And oh my gosh, I think in a big way it's just slowing up the recovery. And it is also, it's frustrating to see, it's sad to see. I'm in some WhatsApp groups and I'm seeing it also play out there. And I am I am just like, we are, in some respects, we are our own worst enemies. And it's just like, man, this is just so crazy that this has become the culture, and this has become the way of thinking by so many. And we're in a national crisis and a national disaster. And I mean, it's just gotten so political, like crazy. And then everybody's thinking that like everybody's trying to steal from somebody. The customs agents is doing this and the bag handlers is doing that and they're stealing. I'm like, what? And I am not saying that this doesn't happen. I am not saying that. And I'm not trying to say things are perfect and everybody's trustworthy. I'm not saying that at all. But if you were to continuously believe at face value what is being written in some of these comment sections, what is being portrayed by these influencers um online. Sorry, one second here, guys. And if you were just to listen to what they were saying outright, you you would have to believe, if we're just kind of going along this logic, you would have to believe that we are a nation of thieves and backstabbers. That is what essentially, if you would just go to the comment section and you would just go to the what these social media influencers are saying, they are basically like across the board. We are a nation of thieves and backstabbers. And I refuse to believe that. I refuse to believe that. And I don't think that that's what's happening. I think that, again, there has been so much, and we can look at the history and especially the political history of Jamaica, going back to the 80s, especially. And there are just so many people. There was so much mistrust back then. There was so much violence back then. There was so much blatant, in your face corruption. And I understand. And I think that like that is being brought forward in some of the strongest ways. And I'm talking about from the accusation standpoint. And I feel like I want to say that as a nation, like we have been moving very strongly away from those types of politics, away from even how Jamaica conducts itself from a business and ethical standpoint. This is what I truly believe. I truly believe that. However, again, going off of the recent political season and moving into this crisis situation, you're seeing people feed off of this and feed off of people's fear, right? And feed off of people's, would I say, I was going to say mental disenfranchisement, but it almost becomes this thing that you feed into people's minds that I am not where I want to be because of that person, that entity, that government body, whatever it is, whoever you want to point the blame on. And they stir the pot, and it's just so widespread. And I'm just like, these people are suffering enough, right? And and I'm talking about the people being in the mix and being in this whole Melissa situation.
And then comes along, and these people know what they're doing. These people 100% know what they're doing, and they're stoking a flame, and they're creating something that doesn't exist. And it's so frustrating to see and witness. And again, I'm seeing it in social media. I'm seeing social media influencers create this mischief. And then I'm also seeing it in these WhatsApp groups. And seeing it online and seeing just how stupid people are in the comments, like that's one thing. But then being in a WhatsApp group and seeing how stupid people are in WhatsApp groups to say the dumbest things, like, because then you also have to think that in order for somebody to get on their phone or their computer and to type this this, this stupidness, right? There has to be you got to think about how they process this information, and that they actually thought through this and like, man, this is such a good idea, and this is going to be so provocative for me to lean in on this argument. And it also, I think, in their mind, it justifies why they are in a situation or why this is the way that it is. And to me, that is so, it's disempowering. It's giving up so much power and taking so much power away from the individual, from the people, by pointing and also by blaming others as to why so and so. And you're seeing this play out again incredibly with this AIDS situation, especially, and even if evidence is brought forward to say that there is there is no evidence to show X, Y, and Z, people still in their heart, it can't, there's no way that stuff cannot be stolen. It has to be that way, because the government is against me. The government doesn't want me to get X, Y, and Z. The government doesn't want me to get aid. The government doesn't want to put up light poles. JPS doesn't want to put up light poles because of ta. And it's just like, you gotta can you not think in your head, like, what incentive do they have to do this? What incentive do they have to do this? And even with the government right now, the microscope on which they are under right now, it has to be the biggest ever. Everybody is watching them. Everybody is watching every single move. That goes for the citizens, that goes for the opposition party, that goes for the donors, that goes for the many organizations that have come into Jamaica to help Jamaica. The world is looking on this. Nobody wants to drop the ball on this. I would venture to guess, and I would hope and think, like, from the prime minister on down, nobody wants to drop the ball on this, and they want to do the best job as possible with this whole situation. And nobody wants to take on this position. I mean, who wants to be the prime minister of a country, not even the prime minister, the leader of any organization that is going through one of the most unprecedented, most catastrophic situations that any country has faced, that Jamaica has faced? And man, this is just a time of just, hopefully, when you go through the periods of history of this nature, you hope that you have the right leaders in place that are making the right decisions, that are really working for the people and really working to get this thing up and running as quickly as possible. But I can't see how it helps to think that all across the board, that your mindset and your thinking is, they're here to screw us over. They don't want us to have a roof over our head. They don't want us to get aid. They don't want us to better our lives. They're trying to keep us at this level and below. How does that help anybody? It doesn't. It doesn't help the country. It doesn't. And I'm talking about the mindset that folks have of this nature. And then also, even if that were true, if what you were saying is true, and that people, the governments, and the JPSs, the Digicel, the Flow, of these worlds, NWC of these worlds, they don't want you to have their services and they want you to remain miserable. How does that help any of them? So it doesn't, on either side of the coin, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. And I wish somebody could explain this to me because, again, I really feel as if this is slowing up the recovery process. It really, really, really is. Because when you are, when there are accusations made, especially if they're false, and but let's just say accusations are being made of theft and things not coming in, they have to be investigated, right? And there's a lot of resources, brain power, etc., that goes into these investigations. And we are, of course, strapped at this point with the resources that we have. They're very, very limited. And you have to, and then this is how it slows things up. You know, this is how things slow up and slow up the recovery. And we have a responsibility, especially I know a lot of people don't take this as a responsibility when they're making comments and creating content and all these things, but we play our role. You know, we play our role. We play our role out there. And I know a lot of people are using this as a, again, I said earlier of like making it more sensational than it already is. And this is a sensational situation already. This is a sensational situation already. And people are making it out to be worse than it is for their own benefit and just creating realities that just don't exist. And so, you know, I say that this, you know, this is just a very, it's just something very frustrating. And I really wish that we were just more together as a nation on a lot of this. And I try to think back to like when we, yeah, I just wish we were more together. But I will say, you know, kind of moving to the positive side of things, right? And I was having this discussion with my brothers last night and then also today that, you know, what's happening online and with the content that's being created and then also the comment sections of a lot of this content is very different from what I'm experiencing here on the ground, right? And I have to say, I am seeing a lot of the best of Jamaica, and I'm seeing a lot of the best of humanity in a huge, huge way. And I think it's so important to highlight this stuff, especially again, if you were to just go online and take what these content creators are putting out there, and also you go into these comment sections, you would have to believe Jamaica is a nation of thieves and backstabbers. That's what they would like you to believe, and that's what they are saying when they put out these false accusations, these false narratives, and just stirring the pot. However, what I have seen and experienced has been very different. With here, even with the rebuilding that we're doing with our staff, with their homes, putting on roofs, like literally building new houses from scratch. We have so many of our construction team who are just volunteering their time and this just coming in and just volunteering, and they are just jumping in and making it happen. You have so many people, so many guests, like I said, just right behind me, I would just have a ton of aid that so many people have brought in, have paid the overweight charges, have paid the extra bag charges. We had one guest that said that they were charged 2,300 US dollars to bring in because they were overweight and they had X amount of bags. 2,300, didn't care. And they came so quickly and distributed aid. And you're seeing a ton of that, a ton of that. We had a, so obviously we were running off of a generator here at Travelers. And stressful situation. Like I've been saying, no hotel, no operation has been designed to run off of a generator for extended periods of time. Like we buy these generators and put these systems in place to say, hey, a few days, a week, we back to normal, right? And so we have been servicing our generator as needed. And anyway, we had a generator expert come in a couple weeks ago, and they said, hey, you need to get this part and that part. And it was an imminent situation. Like, we had to get this part, and or else this thing could go conk out at any time. And it was a very stressful few days, especially for my brother, Wingate, who was he was trying to figure this thing out. And he had to take he just drove to Kingston, right, to try and find this part. Couldn't calling up, couldn't find this part. And he was just like, it was just at a point where he's like, all right, I have to go to Kingston, and I have to, he just goes to Kingston, goes to this generator supply store, and just hoping he gets lucky. That's literally why he was going. And he just went, goes to this store, talking to the lady, asking, explaining to her like what he needs, the part that he needs, and just not making any headway. And we're in an imminent situation where if we don't get these parts, I should say, like, everything's going to be shut down. And so he's talking to a lady, not getting anywhere, not understanding. And then there's this guy next to him in the store, and he was just like, hey, what kind of generator do you have? And my brother's like, da 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 da. He's like, no, that's not the type of generator that. He's like, that's the casing, but that's not the generator you have. And so anyway, they get into this long conversation, and this guy, random dude that has I believe it's a, I'm gonna big him up and get his correct information, because I feel like I'm gonna do an episode on this on its own. And he says like, no, you need this kind of part, and basically in a sense takes my brother under his wing, and is just helping him out and just guides him through this entire thing. And then as Wingate, he left the generator supply store. I don't know what you call it. Coming back to Negril, the guy calls him on the phone. He's like, hey, I found the part that you need. I have it. And he just guiding him, even when just basically just made this problem his problem. And the way my brother is describing it to him, he just had to help. And we yesterday was Saturday, Friday, Friday. So Friday we did the part swap, and then we were even having some trouble. We had to shut it down. He calls up the guy guides him again through the entire thing, and he just didn't want anything. Didn't want anything. Told him we had a hotel, come down with the wife, weekend, this and that. And it was just out of the goodness of his heart that this guy was helping us out. And this could have been a catastrophic situation. And just a normal Jamaican citizen that saw another Jamaican that needed help and decided to help them. And there was we had no other plan. We had no other way. And it was just like, we were just thinking, like, what are the chances of the timing of Wingate going into the store, sitting down, talking with that customer service expert, and then this guy being next to him and overhearing the conversation and jumping in, and he happens to be a complete expert on this and decides to help him out. And to me, that guy saved us. Saved our business, saved all the guests that we have staying. And like, and people don't have a clue that this is going on, and like have a clue that this is the type of scenarios and situations that we're going through to try and make this situation work. And, that to me, like those types of stories of just one person helping another on just such a critical situation, and can't thank him enough. And like I said, he doesn't want anything, borderline refuses, as a matter of fact. And this is the type of situation. And to me, that is, and going back to our team members here, volunteering to help out to rebuild other team members' homes. Like, that is Jamaica. That Jamaica is not a country, a land of thieves and backstabbers. Not at all. I refuse to believe that, because my own experience in seeing and witnessing and being a part of this recovery, and then being affected by it as well, I'm seeing the best in people. I really, really am. I really, really am. And I think it's just like so amazing. I can't thank that guy enough. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a separate a separate video on that already, and just another crazy Hurricane Melissa story at this point in time. And I see Garrett saying that guy was a godsend. Yeah, he definitely was. Shoot, angel. I can't even begin to tell you. But yeah, I don't believe that every package and every shipment coming into Jamaica has somebody going through it and stealing it. I don't believe. Like I said, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying it doesn't occur, but man, it's just like these people are just saying like, "Yo, don't send anything to Jamaica. Nobody's gonna get it." So stupid. So stupid. Anyway, sorry. Let me get to some comments here. Mayor Davis, the fact is people don't trust the government, whoever is in power, with respect to this situation. Their efforts are not coordinated at all. It's all over the place and chukka chukka. And like I said earlier, what government has dealt with a national disaster you can point with anywhere on planet Earth, and you can say they have done a marvelous, fantastic, perfect job? First world, second world, third world, fourth world, whatever you want to call it. The government is dealing, and I'm not here to cat for them. I'm not here to give them excuses or anything like that. It's just like, yes, are things not as efficient and could things be better? Absolutely 100%. But things are moving, progress is being made, and we are going through a situation that we've never been through before. And even if that we're going down the political route, do you really think that a new administration, that if say the PNP were to have won, do you think if they won in September, do you think a brand new administration that is just getting their feet under them, trying to figure out who goes where, what cabinet position, yada, 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 that every new administration of every sovereign nation has to go through? And do you believe if they were to have still be going through that and then having to deal with that, that they would be doing a better job? They would be set up for complete failure. And I would be on here saying, yo, they just came into power. They haven't even got their administration line up perfectly. And we have to give them a chance at this. I would 100% be saying that because, and then on top of that, this is something that no Jamaican leader has ever dealt with before. A category 5 direct hit that was literally the perfect storm, that was slow moving, unpredictable, and the highest wind speeds that this country has ever seen before. And to expect a perfect performance out of any administration, out of any leadership, is absolutely ridiculous. Now, can they do better? 100% sure. I just went through a whole barrage, a whole strategy of how they could do better here in Westmoreland in particular, and how they can be organized and use marshals and have a full assessment. And we hear I mean, I'm not on the sidelines, but most of us are on the sidelines looking in and pointing fingers. And I'm not saying that there aren't good ideas coming from the sidelines. I'm just saying to continuously to have this mindset and to have a notion of just they're idiots, they're thieves, and they shouldn't be trusted. It's just not helpful. Hold them accountable for sure. Hold them accountable for sure. But man, it's just like, where is the distrust coming from? Well, think we all know where the distrust is coming from as we talked about the political history of Jamaica. But just none of it is helpful. Honestly, none of it is helpful. All right, let's keep rolling with these comments here. Sorry, I'm just doing random. I'm not even reading them. Nicole Natalie says local residents passes invaluable knowledge about their neighborhoods and the specific challenges they face. Engaging communities in resilience planning allows cities to tap into knowledge. Well said. Yes, listen to Mama Pineapple and hit the like button and share. Helps a tremendous amount. Rhonda says many are disappointed in the response of the sitting government, and the opposition admit they need help and bring the experts in now. This is bigger than politics. It's about the future of an entire nation. Jamaica must build back better. Agree, agree, agree. I would say, you know, if I made my point about where I'm most critical, and I'm of course being biased to Westmoreland, and I won't go through that again. But what I would say, what I would like to see and hope to see in the next week or so is like what's the plan? And I haven't been, and I'm sorry to make this an excuse. Like I haven't been watching the news. I haven't honestly haven't had the time. Um, I know that they have been doing weekly press conferences. Haven't watched any of them, so maybe there is a plan that I'm unaware of, and how that plan looks. And but it's, to me, whatever plan that they have, it has to be obviously segmented. The plan for Black River is obviously going to be very different for Petersfield, and so on and so forth. So, and I know that there is. We also got to keep in mind that there are, we're the government and these organizations, they're feeding thousands and thousands of people every single day. So don't think that nothing is being done. There are thousands of people being fed every single day. Hot meals, canned goods, water, all of this stuff. Progress is being made. Could it be faster? Absolutely. Absolutely. I wish, again, my biggest critique, I wish things were a little bit more organized at this point. And I'm hoping to see a level of, or at least, if not organized in the next week, but like a level of understanding of what the organizational plan is and what we are moving towards per section of Westmoreland, per section of St. Elizabeth, a Trelawney as well. I know that a lot, like at least I haven't seen a lot of news about Trelawney, but there are a lot of communities in Westmoreland that need help, continue to need help as well. Naya Woodward says, right now there are areas of Jamaica, and this is truth, they still haven't been reached. There are people on the ground taking food and water in, but I listen into the government and watch actions. Yes, I agree, and I know that is true, and that speaks to, I think, just not organized. And again, like, let's go back to the map. Speaking of, I feel like all these little communities that we talked about before, Roaring River, Benter, Petersfield, excuse me, Ferris, Whithorn, Waterworks. It's like, I feel like all these places should have some sort of marshal, and the government. And I think you're just going to have to get private citizens involved in this more than anything else, because like your local representative, the parish council, the MP, like they don't have the people to get an understanding of all these places. Like you probably need maybe close to 100 people for Westmoreland, I would say. If you were to go to like all these little different communities and then have some sort of communication mechanism that feeds all this information in, right? It could be set up through WhatsApp, but then put into some sort of analytical database. I mean, you can even do it with spreadsheet, with a Excel spreadsheet, and then throw it into a chat GPT to be analyzed, right? And then also you have that against the backdrop of the aid that has come in, and like even having an assessment of what that's like, right? And so, for example, I think World Central Kitchen is a very organized nonprofit organization, right? And they know how many meals that they're getting from each restaurant, right? And so that, all right, so say 1,000 meals are being given, for example, downtown Negril. That goes into the database, like and then that is serving a population of 500 people. I don't know, whatever it is. But my point is that, like, the information of the resources that we have, and then also the level of devastation that we're trying to attack, it should be compiled in a database so you can understand it, and then you can attack it with the limited resources that you have. Because obviously, you don't have the resources to fully attack every single situation. You just don't. And that goes for like, and maybe we do. Maybe we do with all the help that we're getting internationally. Maybe we do have the food and water resources. I want to say that we do. It seems like we do, but it doesn't seem like it's being um, properly allocated because there is just miscommunication, and there is lack of communication. And keep in mind, people, keep in mind we don't have cell phone service for the most part. We do not have cell phone service. We don't have reliable cell phone service. It's gotten a lot better than it was last week, and it was a lot better than a week before. So we are making tremendous progress. We are making tremendous headway, but that is also playing into why aid is not getting to certain places and information is not coming across. But that's why I'm saying, like, we should have 100 people, 100 of these marshals or whatever it is, like people in the community, whether it's church leaders, or community leaders, whatever have you, that can really speak to what's happening and also the needs. And we need those numbers. At least we can get some semblance of what we are up against. So that's, again, my personal critique of just getting just kind of getting organized here. As Beverly says, we'll be there in a week on Saturday, staying at Travelers. Awesome. We'll be assessing the damage to our house in Bluefields. Is there a group in Bluefields that is distributing relief goods to the area? Yes. I know. I don't. My friend and his mother is like, they're one of like the main people, but I mean, even speaking to them last week, they were just like simply exhausted, really, really exhausted. And all my friends that I saw, that I hadn't seen them for like say 10 days post Melissa. And then like I saw them afterwards in Bluefields, Waterworks area, like kind of moving east. And then when I saw them, they made their way to Negril. Like they're all like just mad dark because they've been in the sun working every single day, going out, helping people, trying to put their roof back on their own homes. And it's just like a testament to like just the effort that's being put into this. And they're just a few people. And so anyway, they've been giving out aid and helping and driving around. But like when I spoke to them, they were just like just beat. They've been doing it for 2 weeks straight at this point, every day, getting up. They don't have electricity. They don't have regular electricity. They don't have running water, and they're doing the best that they can right now. But well, when you get here, I'll put you in touch with them, Beverly. I'll put you in touch with them. So I'm more than happy to do that. All right, let's get to some comments here at the bottom. Loney says, I'm looking forward to the government learning from this and actually putting better plans in place for the future events just like this. Same here. Same here. I think there is so much that we're going to learn. And this goes for the private sector as well. This goes for us. I mean, we've learned so much as a small hotel on the Grill Beach, and I'm sure my fellow hoteliers, as many storms that we have weathered, as many hurricanes that we've been through, tropical storms, cold fronts, you name it, right? There's nothing like this. There has been nothing like this, not even close. Um, and you learn, you get better after every storm is going to be different. And you got to think, maybe not in our lifetimes, but there will be a storm that's going to be worse than this. I hate to even say it and be in it right now, but to me, it's like that's the mindset that we have to have, especially in the private sector, and over prepare for whatever that looks like. I have no idea. I have no idea. But there's certain elements of this storm that will not catch us again. I'm sure the government is saying the same thing. And we're going to become more resilient than before Melissa. And I think about, like, I know the prime minister talked about JPS wires going underground. Like we have to move into that. Like to me, there's no you have to, but that's hundreds of millions of US dollars easily, easily. And in my mind, it's like, how do we, and this is kind of where my mind's be going of like, how do we as a nation get to a point where we have the tax revenue, the GDP, etc., to be able to afford a program like that, right? Where we're just like, all right, we're going to put all of our electrical wires underground. And regardless of the storm, what happens with the storm that comes here, at least we won't be out of power. Another thing that I would love to see happen is that the building code right across the board is completely changed. And this is like, all right, there's no more board houses in Jamaica. But with that, you also need the income of the people to be able to afford that. Are there some sort of incredibly generous housing subsidy? But again, to be able to afford a subsidy of that nature, we need to, our GDP would have to, we'd have to be in like the tens of billions, tens and tens of billions as a nation, just to be able to afford something like that. And it's just like, my mind has been going like, how do we do that? How do we get to that point? How do we produce at that level? What industry is going to allow us to do that and to have these types of GDP and revenue growth and increase the tax base into that level? And I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. And I don't know how that happens. I really don't. I don't know how that happens. But it's just I'd love to get there someday as a nation. I really would. Quantities, it would be more effective to counter the negative content about Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica with genuine visual examples of selfless kindness. Great idea. Great idea. I will definitely. I've captured some of it, but I will definitely be looking out more for it and having my camera on the go, on the ready, I should say. Thank you for the donation, by the way. Mama Pineapple, thank you for the donation. Says, continue to pray for all of Jamaica. Please pin the name of the organization of your recommendation. Thank you for having boots on the ground. God bless you. Thank you. Matthew, thank you for the donation. Doubling down. I'm looking at the 20th through maybe the 22nd to potentially come to Travelers. Just wondering if you had relief plans at that time. No, I don't have any relief plans of me personally doing anything, but I know I'll be able to point you in the right direction in terms of who you might be able to go to when you do get here. But thank you for that, Matthew. Let's see. Simone says, agree, having reputable individuals in those communities who can serve as boots on the ground, free from political bias, would be essential for gathering accurate info and updating said database. Yes, so important. We need boots on the ground. I don't know how that's going to happen, when that's going to happen, but there is some element of that needs to happen at some point. I can't see. I can't. I don't know how else you do it. How else do you do it? You know what? And I think another. I don't know, people are gonna get mad at me for this one, but this is my brother's idea, and I think it's such a phenomenal idea. And that is to basically move the government, move a big part of the government to this part of the island, because you need boots on the ground. You need, and when I say this part of the island, Saint Elizabeth, and I'm so sorry if I am. I know there are parts of the North Coast that have been hit. I'm going to the map right now. Trelawney, Falmouth got hit, and I don't mean to like disregard them or anything like that. But I'm saying, and like maybe this is a bad idea because of that, but I was just saying, like, to my brother's idea, I think it's a great one to have a presence of the government here on the ground, just every day, like set up a government building. I don't know, just have the team here. I don't know if they're going back and forth to Kingston, but at this point, as it's like, yo, there needs to be like some sort of deputy that's here on the ground that doesn't leave St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland. And this is like just organizing, pointing fingers, clipboard. And somebody said this, I think it was last stream, when we were just talking about this very same idea of having community leaders or these marshals. And the question was just like, yo, who has the clipboard? I don't know. I don't know who has a clipboard from a local perspective. I don't know. I am not I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But there is room for tremendous improvement right across the board. Right across the board. And I don't know when that's gonna happen. And maybe, maybe it's just private citizens like taking them amongst themselves. I don't know, man, and just kind of just taking the mantle. But like this is, I can't see what other way would they do it? What other way would they do it other than having the idea that, I'm not saying like this is the best idea in the world or anything like that, but to have the, boots on the ground, here through all these different communities, and there are many more as you zoom in, and to have a full assessment understanding of the damages, access to food, water, what is that supply looking like, and then also what are the resources that we have access to. And this is just the recovery relief phase. And then you're also going to need to do that for the rebuilding phase. And so we're going to get into that aspect shortly. So let me just finish up with some comments here. Let's see. Let's see. Loney says nobody has the darn clipboard. So many international players seem to be all over the place. Yes, helping, but does the government know which each organization is doing to help? I don't know. I don't know. I think they know some, but I don't know. And so I feel like they, again, giving grace here with the situation being as unprecedented it is, but that grace is going to run out soon, and you're going to need to be incredibly organized and have a plan. I'm confident that that is coming soon. I hope that's coming soon, and then I hope that's in the next week or so, that we kind of have this semblance of understanding, like, oh, this is the way we're moving. This is what we're going to do. Bam, bam, boom. This is how we're going to do it. This is how we, like, you know what I'm saying? And so maybe that was done. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. Maybe that was done already. I don't know. But we waiting for our clipboard people to be out there in these communities. Justin C, the UK should have boots on the ground. No, one of the reasoning you behind the UK is with holding funds for JAs, because when the PM was being investigated, the PM was caught up in corruption of having more than one bank account. What? Again, I'm sorry I even read that comment. What? We're really going back to the bank account thing. So I already think that like that is a foolish argument with the bank account thing. And I said this before, and people were saying, like, how can somebody have 27 bank accounts? I have more than 27 bank accounts. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. And it's just like, it's just one of the most, like, when you, and I'm sorry to get at you like this, Noel, but your comment is your comment. But when you make a statement like that, it also just shows how narrow your perspective is. And anybody who says this. And I remember, like, my friend said this to me. He made the same argument, and he was like, yo, how can the prime minister have 27 bank accounts? And I was like, yo, I have 27 bank accounts. I was like, you probably have close to that as well. And then he started counting up his bank accounts. He's like, oh, shoot, I probably do. And when you think about it, especially in Jamaica, you have your checking account, your savings account. You probably have a U.S. account. You probably have U.S. account. If you have a business, you probably have a business saving account. You probably have a business checking account. You probably have a U.S. account for that. Maybe if you're in a hospitality business, you probably have European pounds. Then I'm a U.S. citizen, so I have my U.S. savings account. I have my U.S. checkings account. I have Oh, I forgot about my credit cards here in Jamaica. I have my credit card account. I have my Cash App account. I have my Venmo account. I have my investment account. Um, I can go on and on and on. It's not that hard. It's not that hard to have 20 bank accounts that you have money going through. It's very, very easy. You know how easy it is to set up a separate account? People have, and please put your hand up. Do you have a separate savings account for your car that you want to get, down payment that you want to have? This is just good personal finance, to have different accounts for different things that you may want to achieve or different spending habits. I am one of these people who likes points, and I use certain credit cards to get a 3x or a 5x. I want to get a 5x on my flight. I'm going to use my Delta card. I want to get 5x on groceries. I'm going to use the Capital One card. I don't have Capital One, but you understand what I'm saying? So it's not that hard to have 20 something accounts. And so for somebody in his position, he probably has way more. I'm just regular Joe Schmo Winthrop, right? And it's just like, it's nonsensical argument. And like, that is going to be the basis of corruption allegations. I'm stronger than that. Oh, please. I mean, it's just nonsensical. Really just showing how narrow your perspective is in saying stuff like that. And I'm just like, and I'm one to call it how it is. You know what I'm saying? If there is something there, it is just like, all right, let's find out what's up. Let's investigate. You said things are moving off the plane and didn't come in. Where's the tape? Where's the evidence? We're going to go off of that. Like, I'm not going to go off of he said, she said, especially in 2025, where we have cameras, we have footage, we have CCTVs. Goodness. All right. Let's keep rolling here. Just going some random comments. Mike Jordan Groupie. We have to visit Jamaica's role and intentions in regard to UN Agenda 2030 goals, the NGOs and corporations that have heavy interest in each notable sectors. That's outside my scope right now. Leave that one right there. See, Fergie, it's not foolish with the PM. It's a matter of being investigated, and it's not about the bank accounts, but the source of funds. I'm going off of what Noah said. He said X amount of bank accounts. I am saying X amount of bank accounts. And that's what I'm going with, and that's what 27 bank accounts, right? And it's just like, yo, okay, investigate, do your thing. But again, it's just like, this comes into this incredible level of distrust. Like, to me, all of this should be studied. Like, how this level of distrust in the government, which existed far before this administration, and it's just and I'm just seeing it play out in the worst ways and in the most silliest ways during this crisis right now. And it's frustrating to see, but then it's also like, I'm thinking like, man, is this how Jamaica really is? And this is how everybody thinks? And then my mind automatically goes into problem solving. And it's just like, how do we get past this? And how does somebody who has the mindset that the government is out to get me, the powers that be do not want me to elevate in life, and I have to work against them because they are working against me? And will there ever be a reality for that person and that individual that has that ideology? Will there be a reality where that won't be the case, and that they do feel that the government is working in their best interest, and that they don't feel as if somebody's trying to take something away from them or work against them because of whatever they have in their mind? And I don't know what that reality looks like, or if we'll ever get to that reality, and I always hope And then, you know, my mind is like, and I'm not saying everybody should think like me. I'm not saying that at all. I think everybody should be free thinking, and I think that's just the beauty of just being in the world. One of the beauties of being in the world that we live in today is that like everybody can have their opinion, and I was gonna say, unfortunately, everybody can express it now with these platforms. But anyway, I never, I have never been somebody who has put myself mindset and also in terms of like what I want to achieve in life. I've never put myself in a position to be like, hey, I can't achieve this or I can't do this because this entity, this body is holding me back from doing it. I never, even if the cards are stacked against me. But here it's just like so different. It's just so different. It's just like everybody likes to use that as a crutch. Everybody likes to use it. I'm not saying every, I'm generalizing. A lot of people. But then you see like so many Jamaicans who have just started from nothing and have done so exceptionally well, you know, and you see people who have just come out of just the worst of the worst situation and just kind of just like buck that trend like tremendously, tremendously. And so, you know, it also shows me, even though that some people think that's the reality, there are so many people who have, if that is the reality, who have been examples that have been able to overcome and just done so exceptionally well in Jamaica, you know, not leaving Jamaica, in Jamaica. So it's just, again, it's just interesting. I think it's so fascinating and just something that should be studied. And it is just, we are just at the height of mistrust, just the height of mistrust, government and beyond, government and beyond. We're at the height of mistrust. All right, let's get to some comments here. Dawn, all is vanity, says, I think what Melissa exposed is the disjointedness and lack of support for local and rural communities in general, the lack of good infrastructure in rural communities. Absolutely. Lucy says, there's corruption, crime, stupidity everywhere. Let's focus on the ones who are taking themselves by the bootstraps. Good point. Yes. Dr. Pecan, get back to finding current solutions for the finding solution for current crisis. Agreed. Agreed. Justin C. The governments around the world have no common sense. Jem says mental slavery. Audrey May says, I'm 73 years old and have 19 bank accounts. It's good money management. There we go. Quantities, thanks again for the donation, says, in reality, cost is not significantly higher, especially when considering a full cost benefit analysis that includes multiple post-storm restoration costs. This is particularly true when direct boring installation. Sorry, just making sure I didn't miss the comment. Sorry, and you're also saying, how do I get that comment up there? There is a misconception that relocating electricity service underground within existing infrastructure is very expensive. I hope that would be great. That would be really, really awesome if that's true. That would be really, really awesome. Justin D says, keep fighting the ignorance. I'm trying, brother. I'm trying. Yaga says, I think Jamaicans are too dependent on the government. They can't even make a logical decision without government being injected somehow. Alfonso West says the prime minister of Jamaica is only worth a little over $1 million for a man of his caliber. He's broke. He could have taken his talent anywhere in the world and made millions. Andrew Lawrence says, all hat and no cattle government. Ola Taylor says the local representative in each area needs to drop the politics and do better. This is all hands on deck situation. Wow, there are 2 lives going on. Wait, are there? Oh, right, because they have I forgot about this. They are Or doing so the platform I'm using is streaming both landscape and portrait. So I didn't know it was there were two lives. Oh, that's awesome. Interesting. Thank you. Boy says they keep calling the man a thief and can't tell us what he stole. Michelle Dean. What is being done to address the outbreak of disease? I'm not sure. So as you say that, unfortunately, we like one of the people that we had. I don't even know how to say that. Yeah, I'm not gonna say that. But anyway, yes, it's happening, and I don't know. I don't know what exactly is being done about that. I do know that when people ask what they can bring, just cleaning supplies like wet wipes, Lysol, Clorox, that sort of thing, and that stuff we have a bunch of it now that I'm looking back at it. But I know that food and stuff is important, but also to your point, Michelle, is just containing outbreaks. Stephanie says, very worried for those elderly and disabled isolated in the hills. One thing is to revamp a system to a new way of care, group home care. Um, Eleanor says, I was over at the Pinnacle, glad it withstood the hurricane. Yangsen and his army of dedicated Chinese Jamaicans sent machines to help open Battle Road and Black River and have been sending care packages. Amazing, amazing. Those dudes are awesome. Awesome. Glad to hear that. Thanks for sharing. Which says, the people who own their own businesses should be charged for not keeping their business up to date. Westmoreland looks like it's not in Jamaica before the hurricane. What? All right. Oh yeah, we can't worry about that now. Joe says, "What disease is spreading?" I don't know. I heard of. I don't know about disease. What diseases are spreading, but I know people are getting sick. I know that for sure. And through personal experience, just let's say that. So, um, I don't know, but it has to be some unsanitary situations. There's no running water. There's toilets, bathroom not working. Can't wash your hands as you normally do. So I would imagine that stuff is happening. Dawn, thank you so much for the donation. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. $200, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's really really awesome. Justin D says, where the companies like Fabuloso and Heineken that make money off of the island, big companies are nowhere to be found. No, there are big companies helping. I don't know about those in particular, but there are big companies helping for sure, for sure, for sure. And coming together, making donations, being part of the aid relief and that sort of thing. There Yaga says there was literally a whole press conference on health issues, outbreaks, word of safety, etc. a few hours ago. There you go. I don't know. I don't know exactly what was said in the press conference, but I would imagine in situations like this, like stuff is going to outbreak because you're not normally washing your hands using a flushing toilet, all that sort of thing. Mosquitoes, obviously, as well. Lots and lots of down trees were unfortunately going through or at the end of a cold front. So it was raining and wind. So that you're going to have like those cups and pools of water and leaves, which also encourages mosquito breeding. So, not surprising. As somebody says it here, mosquito borne diseases. Yeah, very, very concerning. Very, very concerning. Dr. Pecan says, why not have government lease the hotels that are empty and provide temporary housing? I think that's also an idea. I think that's an idea. Whether they can afford it or how they can afford it, I'm not sure. That's an idea. Noah says, what's the difference between Bob Marley and Peter Tosh when it comes to politics? Let the truth be told. I don't know the answer to that. Okay, I'm sorry I brought the politics up. We're going down the path. C says, "What do you think about the criticism that Jamaica looked the same before and after?" No, that's not true. That's not true. I mean, that's so not true, and I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair at all. I mean, if you go to, have you been here? See, have you been to? I haven't been to White House. I'm going this week, but I would imagine it looks a lot like Waterworks, which I have been through, and just devastated, just devastated. But I don't think that's true, and I don't think that's fair. Call him the other Justin. Okay, I got it. Okay, the other, I will call him the other Justin D. I got it. Mhm. All right, let's keep going here. Luke C. Um, people calling people lazy and waiting on the government handout realize how important it is to remove the people from the contamination. I might be reading that out of context. Dawn, all is vanity, my pleasure. Thank you again. I really, really appreciate the donation, Dawn. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I couldn't find the word. Leptospirosis. That's, I heard that is that there had been cases of that. Honey, is Honey still on the beach? No, Honey left the beach. I feel like he left the beach a long time ago. He was here the other day for breakfast, as a matter of fact. Brian Clean says they are fogging. Yes, there's a fogging schedule I'm aware of here for Westmoreland area that I saw. I'm sure they're doing it in other areas. Rhonda says two recent deaths in Jamaica are being investigated for link to leptospirosis, a disease spread through contact with rat urine, particularly from contaminated floodwaters during post-hurricane cleanup efforts. There you go. Lucy says Negril Beach, a natural treasure, needs to reinvent itself after destruction, even though mild eyesore. Okay. Mike Jordan says that would be a disaster for hotels. The concept is good, but people squat, unfortunately. Yeah, we couldn't have that. Couldn't have that happen. 80s hair says, I've been baptized Jamaican, survived Melissa. Montego Bay was hit far harder than anticipated. Still no power or water. Daily swims in the sea and community keeps hope high. Awesome. I know I haven't been to Montego Bay yet. I got to get out there at some point. Patricia says, "Is your hotel open? I want to recommend to a group." Yes, yes, we've been open throughout Melissa. Thankfully, very, very lucky. We've been open this entire time. RN2 CEO says there was a meeting with Minister Tufton today. Contaminated meats and water are big concerns. They plan to keep testing the water and educate the public. Good to know. Thank you for that. Hold on. Does homes with NHT mortgages have hurricane insurance? Not much info on how much of a loss covered by insurance. I'm not sure. It's a good question. Good question. Thank you, Sharon, so much. Longtime visitor, love Negril. Thank you for the donation. Really, really appreciate it. So that question with NHT brings up another point that another topic of discussion. And then this is also where I think government has the power to help, right? And so we're still in the rescue and relief phase of things, and eventually we will be going to the rebuild phase, right? And let's focus on the residents for now. Let's focus on the residents, like people, and especially, I'm not saying this doesn't happen in other places, but especially Westmoreland, we are. I've heard, this is not my term. I've heard and say people like we heard people say that Westmoreland is the board house capital of Jamaica, and we have been known for putting board houses, like an entire home, on the back of a truck and moving it from one place to another. And the thing here is that there is an unaffordability. Why we have board homes, like it's twofold. There's an unaffordability to build a concrete structure with a slab roof, or like a proper roof, let's say, slab roof, but a concrete structure, and not having the funds to do it. But then also which is more important and more detrimental, is that there is a lack of, they don't have titles for the land. And there's a couple of things happening here. And I had a very intimate conversation with somebody who is very, very knowledgeable on this matter, particularly in the Westmoreland area. And they are trying to help solve and alleviate this problem. And what you have is so many of these folks that fall under one of two categories, that they've either, as somebody said before, they've either squatted on these lands for literally generations, and they have kids, grandkids, great grandkids, pets, everything that have been squatting on this land and have these board homes on these lands. And then you also have folks that it's their family's lands, and this is going back to slavery. And all of this, at the end of the day, in terms of how Jamaica is situated, how it's structured, and why there is still abject poverty at the level that it's at, it all goes back to slavery at the end of the day. It all goes back to slavery. And so there are these folks, these families that have had these lands for generations going back to slavery. And they don't have the titles for these lands. And in order to put a permanent structure on any piece of land, you will need to get approval by the local planning authority. You need to submit your architectural drawings. They look at it, they approve it, and then you can go ahead and construct the structure that you'd like. So it's not like, because I'm here, like even here at Travelers, if I wanted to put up a building, we have a space right here, any space like by the pool. If we wanted to put up a building, even though we own the property and it's titled to us, we have to put together a drawing, has to be certified by an architect, and then we have to submit it to the Negril has a special body which is called Negalpa, which is Negril Green Island Planning Authority. I feel like I'm forgetting a word in there. But anyway, you have to get this approval. But you cannot get the approval if you don't have the correct title. And like even getting the title requires, it's a multi-step process of getting a surveyor, writing letters to your neighbors, letting them know that you're being surveyed, having them take a look at the survey, approve it, counter check it with the surveys that they have, yada yada. And then these are paid services. And then God forbid that there's something wrong with the title in any of the most simplest of ways, then there's a whole nother set of steps. And so a lot of these folks fall into that category. And like, as we think about, hey, we there should be, my mind is like, there's in no way should we be rebuilding board houses and tin roofs moving forward. And all of us are thinking that way, right? But you can't do it. Well, we need to do it now because we just need to get roof over people's heads. But in moving to a future in which we have these permanent structures, they cannot, as the law is, and I believe, to me, I think it should remain this way, that in order to do that, you have to have a title. And so now the question and the discussion becomes, how do we title these folks? And the government, and there's a program that exists already. And did the Prime Minister talk about it on my podcast? I can't remember. I feel like if he didn't talk about it on my podcast, he talked about it before. But there exists a program that, say your family has been on a piece of land for generations, and it's set up where actual word of mouth counts towards it, where you can go to a neighbor, you bring in a government official. I forget the name of the body, excuse me, but you bring in a government official. They say that they go to your neighbors and say, like, yeah, Mr. Jones has been there and his family has been there for decades. And another neighbor says that, and they sign off on it. I'm like, all right, now we're going to give you a title. And this is free. This is free, by the way. And they do this and they give you your title. And you know what that does for that family? It's huge. This is how you build wealth within a family structure. It's owning a piece of property. It's owning land, and it's being able to leverage that land and leverage that title, and you're able to borrow against it. And then we could go down and extrapolate that, hey, if this is a commercial property and you want to start a business and what you can do. But like as you have it now, if you can't own the land that you have on, it's there's only so many other types of ways that you're going to be able to get your family out of poverty. And I'm not going to say it's not going to happen in a paycheck. It's going to be very difficult to do a straight paycheck over many, many years and over a career to get your family out of poverty. One of the best ways to do that is to become a landowner, to become a title holder. And to me, this is the types of discussions that we should have about the future of Jamaica, especially in rural Jamaica where we are now, is that how do we get these folks who are in these, by definition, informal settlements, how do we get them titled? And how do we get a title over them? And then that would also allow us and allow them to put a permanent concrete structure on there so that not only it gives them this great sense of dignity to be a landowner, to own Jamaica, to own a piece of the land of their birth, and then to be able to build their home with their title that they can now pass on to their children. And then they can use that and they can get a mortgage, they can refinance, they can use those funds. And then maybe at some point in time, they'll even sell it because now that land is worth so much more money, an exorbitant amount of more money because it's official and it's theirs. And if they choose to sell it, and maybe they want to sell it and they want to move somewhere bigger, and then the assets grow, so on and so forth. But it's like, how do we give them that opportunity? Well, the mechanism is there in place. I just told you the how. So it's possible. It's very, very possible, and it's being done already. Now, for what's happening here, it's just like the question becomes, how do we do this at scale? How do we provide this opportunity to these folks at scale? And mind you, as you can tell by the comments that are happening right now here, you're doing it, you're going to try to do it against the backdrop of severe, severe mistrust in the government. And you want to talk about mental slavery with this? I mean, oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't even know how you approach this and how you get over this, where there's been folks who've been on a piece of land, and maybe, let me not even speak that. Maybe there is situations where there is people can see this, but no matter what, it is going to be the government's responsibility to convince its citizens that this is the best way possible to create wealth for your family. And this is something that they deserve. And I'm not saying it from a position of like a handout or anything like that. They have been on this, especially in taking the example of this going back to the slavery days, right? And their forefathers and their generations before have paid for this. They have paid for this with their lives. They've paid for this with their quality of life. They pay for this in being in abject in poverty for generations. And so if there is a clear route to creating this opportunity for them and for their family, and this is like, man, how do we do this at scale? How do we do this at scale and get them their land titles? And then after the titles, now we can talk about, all right, what does the program look like to get them funds to build these permanent hurricane-proof structures? And it has to be hurricane-proof structures, because there are many structures, and of course, there are not every structure that this hurricane hit got demolished. There were some structures that were built very good, that were built specifically for a direct hit of a Category 5 hurricane. And every building should be made as such. We already had somebody, although Pinnacle is not complete, we've already had somebody say that the Pinnacle survived this storm and is fine, even to the point that they're sending out construction crews to help other parts of the country. And so we can build hurricane-proof buildings. And they've been tested and they've survived this. And so how do we get to the point where our residents now that we are able to title them, and then we're also able to get them roofs over their heads that can survive Hurricane 5, Category 5 hurricanes? All right, let's get to some comments. Um, Sorry, I missed a bunch here. This says this is good to know, Throp, because what I heard on the news is that a lot of people on those lands are squatters. If these people lost their lands, docks and storms, how could they prove they own it? I mean, it's at the titling office. It's even if they lost it in the storm, they have the titling office. They have all of those documents. So um, I think it goes back to, yeah, they may be squatting, but there is there is a precedent that has been set to get them titles. And even if, all right, and even if the case is right, they're on this land and they're squatting, we gotta they obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but at some point they will need to have moved off. And obviously you just can't kick them off and then put them in the street. We gotta get them into good housing. And they are, and I don't know how, I'm hesitating because, like, where do the funds come from this? Like, even if you were to build like 1,000 unit housing scheme, it's like a drop of water in the bucket. And we were already, Jamaica as a whole, we were already, as you know, if you've been on these streams before, you know that we have not been building houses fast enough. And I'm talking about across the spectrum, from low income housing all the way up to luxury housing, middle class to luxury housing. Like, we're not building homes fast enough, and especially the middle to lower income side of things. And now it's even worse. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is in terms of how we afford to do this, especially at a scale and at pace that we need to. What else we got here? Dr. Pekin says, question, what percentage of the displaced people in western side of Jamaica will relocate to the eastern side of Jamaica? What impact will it have on Negril tourism, the all-inclusives when? Um, I don't think so. I mean, let's take your last point first. I said this before, and I'm not trying to pin all-inclusive against EP hotel or small hotel, right? And if you really look at and assess what happened here, and luck, luck has so much to do with this. Luck has an incredible amount to do with this. I'm of course generalizing, but you look at it, and I'm generalizing here. The smaller hotels, generally speaking, have fared better in this Melissa situation. And I'll say that to a couple things. So we'll talk about before the storm, during the storm, and even right now, right? And so, even with the preparation, I'm talking about, and I'll even speak from my own personal experience here at Travelers, and the prep work that we did in terms of getting, trying to convince as many of our guests to leave Jamaica, leave the island, get out of our hotel. We did the best that we could, but we still had guests, many guests, who said that nope, we're sticking it out. We're going to ride the storm out. And they had no idea what they were signing up for. And we were warning them. And at that point, we were convinced that we were going to be having a direct hit on Negril. Thank God we didn't. But at that point, we were convinced, and we were communicating that to our guests. They still decided to stay, right? So even with that, extrapolate that out by a hotel that has 500 rooms and maybe close to 1,000 guests. I can only imagine. And I don't care if they have more employees, they have more supervisors, they have more managers, yada, yada, yada. This is just so many more bodies, personalities, needs that you have to cater to and your team has to cater to. I couldn't imagine. I could not imagine. That's like trying to conduct an army and not have any, and like, that's your own troops, right? That's your own troops as a hotel. That's like trying to conduct them without having communication. Remember, All communication went out mid-storm. No flow, no Digicel. And it's, oh, oof, ah, can't imagine. Couldn't imagine. Put it that way. And obviously, flights getting canceled. You obviously have to feed people. And it was an extremely, extremely, and some of these properties are humongous, 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 humongous. And imagine you have to get communication like a quarter mile away to a room block or to this. Like, I don't even want to go down that path. All right, so that's dealing with the storm, our prep. So with us on our side, it was much easier to gather our guests in our lobby, tell them what to expect, tell them what the plan is. We were able to, talking about this with my brothers, this incredible heroics that we had from the Travelers Beach Resort team throughout this entire ordeal. We set up, so we had two major blocks where guests were staying, and we had the lobby building, and then we had our standard block building. We set up in one of our suites. We set up a makeshift kitchen there, so like we had a stay in place policy. Once the storm was hitting, basically 24 hours, everybody stayed where they were. And then in those blocks, we had a kitchen on one of our suites, and then our standard room, we had to set up a makeshift kitchen there as well. And so nobody needed to leave that block. Food was being dispelled throughout those blocks. And then we also had radios. So in all of this, I guess the main point I'm trying to make is, because we were smaller, we were just so much more nimble. And we obviously don't know what the large hotels were doing. We were just doing the best that we could with what we had and the information that we had and the team that we had available to us. And we were just moving so much quicker and we were just nimble. We didn't have to go up the totem pole. We didn't have to go up the ladder to make a decision and to do this and to make this call. And so the experience being here was very different. And I'm only saying this because of, we also had a group WhatsApp group text with all of the guests who were staying at Travelers plus our team. So we were all on it, and we're still in communication now, as a matter of fact. And they were just telling us the nightmares that they were hearing from people staying at larger hotels, and let's just say other hotels, and how it was a nightmare and how it was this and that. And whereas they did not experience that. Yeah, of course they had some inconveniences here at Travelers for sure. Without question, things were not the normal way it would have been if they were here during a different period of time. But nonetheless, for them, they were saying it wasn't a nightmare, and that it wasn't. It's not my words, and I'm trying to toot our own horn. And I'm sure many other small hotels in Negril can say the same thing, that they were able to bring just a different level of intimate service to their guests because our properties are just smaller. And then also, we're family run properties, and when you come and stay at a small hotel, and especially here in Negril, like many of our small hotels are family run properties, and we run it like family, and we treat it. I mean, this was a family affair. Like, we all were getting through this together. And whereas some of these other properties, and just by the nature of their business model, they're humongous. They're humongous. I mean, thousands of employees, thousands of guests, thousands of plates of food that need to, I mean, you understand the picture that I'm trying to paint here. And so that's just the experience and that's just a reality. And I'm not trying to say, yo, we're better than them, that you should come. Like, no, everybody has their preference of what type of vacation that they want to go to, and what type of hotel and what type of experience that they want to have, so on and so forth. And Jamaica has many, many, many options to choose from. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about Jamaica. If there is a type of accommodation, a type of vacation that you are looking for, you can find it right here in Jamaica. And that's the beauty of it. And so I'm not trying to pin small against large, but I'm trying to make the point, all-inclusives win. That's not true. Now let's move to, and again, I'm not trying to point the finger or say, ha, like, don't get me wrong. And so you look at how some of these larger hotels, and again, luck plays into a lot of these. And so a lot of hotels, and this could also apply for small hotels as well, is that they have these open concepts. And I was speaking to a builder, and this goes for any structure. I was speaking to a builder. I was in a meeting last week, and he kept saying and talking about the up. I might be saying the wrong term, but the lift. And that's what you're trying to avoid in these storms. Is the lift, and that's how roofs go. It's like when the wind gets in through a gap of some sort and then and goes in and lifts the roof or lifts the structure, and that's how these structures are destroyed, is getting in and getting that lift. And so you obviously want to engineer against that. And so a lot of these large hotels, they have these big, beautiful, mind you, beautiful open air lobbies, and that is just perfectly set up for those lifting situations. And I would imagine a lot of those lobbies took a tremendous amount of damage. And that's what I heard. They took a tremendous amount of damage. And that's the type of don't get me wrong, I would love for us to have something like that, and normal here at Travelers. But not being able to have that is also a bit of an advantage. Smaller property, we don't have that sort of setup, and we have to be using kind of every inch of our property as effectively and efficiently as possible. And so my point is, long way of saying, like, I don't always think and in this that all inclusives win. I think that in this experience, you're seeing the advantage that having a small of experiencing a small property as over an all-inclusive. It's different vacation. I'm not saying you shouldn't do this or shouldn't do that. I think we need them all. I think we need to have I have no problem with there's a billions of US dollars of all-inclusive development happening in Jamaica. I think it's great for Jamaica, and I want to be very, very clear on that. But also, it's a different type of experience than staying at a Travelers Beach Resort, at a Shirella Inn, at a Tree House, at a Cocoa Palm, at a Sandy Haven, a Skylark, a Rock House. Very, very, very different experience in terms of the type of hospitality that you're going to get, the food that you're going to get. Also, even moving outside, I think that's one of the greatest parts about staying at a small hotel, especially in Negril, is the experience that you have outside the four walls of our facilities, because that is the real experience. That is what's going to keep you coming back to Jamaica over and over and over again. And that is really getting the authentic Jamaican experience that you may not necessarily have if you're going to a place where you're just not leaving that property at all during your stay. Sorry, that was long-winded, but when we start talking about hospitality in a hotel, I'm going to go on and on and on. All right. You're talking about Dr. Pecan, the percentage of displaced people in the western side of Jamaica. I don't know that person. I have no idea. I have no idea. I think that is a great question. I think that is a question that needs to be accurately answered, and it should be part of this recovery, relief, rebuild process. It has to be. And this kind of goes back to my suggestion of having local marshals in different communities that report back and then putting it into a database to be analyzed against the backdrop of the resources that we have available to be allocated into said places via the marshals. And so, great question. It needs to be answered. It needs to be part of the process. And somehow, like, there's no other way. You have to have this data. You have to have this data. You can't just go out and just do stuff. You have to have this data. So I think it's a great question. What impact will this have on the tourism to grow? I mean, it's anything I would say here is speculating. It would be completely, I'd be speculating, because it's not going to, this is obviously, this whole situation is not good for tourism at all for Jamaica, and I talked about earlier on the economic, no, the economic impact, but then also the reputational impact. There are thousands of hotel rooms, the thousands of room inventory that is not going to be online for the next few months. Those are thousands of people that won't be coming to Jamaica otherwise, because their branded hotel is not available. I would love for those folks to come to Negril. I would love for them to come to Negril. I would love for them to experience Jamaica regardless. And maybe next year they come back and they go to that hotel that is closed and they'll go back to that. But, get your taste of Jamaica. Get your taste of Jamaica now. There's no reason why you shouldn't come to Jamaica. There are rooms available. There's room inventory available on this side and in Kingston and Ochi as well. And so, again, I would encourage folks to come here. That's also going to help very much with the recovery, the rebuilding, the economic recovery. You're putting people to work, you're getting people to get back into the routine. And I would highly, highly encourage people, if you have a vacation plan, still come. Your hotel at an X location is not available. Come to this location. I'm sure it'll be up and running next year. Go back next year. Come again. Come 2 years in a row. Come 2 years in a row. Come experience a small hotel here in Negril in 2025, and then or maybe this winter 25, 26, and then next year go back to Montego Bay when things are up and running there and enjoy that as well. It's a different experience. I think both are lovely. You'll probably like Negril better anyway. Obviously, I'm biased and I'm kidding. So, but we'd love to have you is my point at the end of the day. Justin D, the other Justin D. Negril is not a tourist spot. It is home for many around the world. Yes, yes, that's well said. Well said. Lucy says opportunity for hotels in Negril to attract people who would have gone to Montego Bay. Yep, yep. I think that's a great opportunity. Dawn says Jamaica have the knowledge base in Jamaica and in the diaspora to rebuild Jamaica properly. Agreed, agreed. Kimberly says, will government assistance go to those that squat? Why divide us? People are people and landowners are squatters. Let's rebuild in the name of God. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. Like, I was trying to make this point, but I just got distracted in my own thoughts of getting the squatters, of getting them into houses, of getting them into proper houses, and with their name on the title, and them being a landowner, them being a title holder. It'll change our country. It'll change our country. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it, but I think it would make a huge difference. Um, Noel, another unknown question. Don't we within the CARICOM communities in the Caribbean have enough power to help rebuild Jamaica? Is CARICOM working on behalf of the Caribbean? I don't know too much about that. I know for sure we don't have the labor in Jamaica. So I'm thirsty here. I know we don't have the labor to rebuild Jamaica. We already had a labor shortage before, Melissa. Huge labor shortage. I don't know what this means. I know we're going to need outside labor coming in to do this, especially like if you look at a Black River, that's going to be major, major construction, new city type situation. And even going through the countryside of Westmoreland, there is just so many houses. Like we definitely don't have the labor in Jamaica. In CARICOM, I'm not sure. I can't speak to that. Let's keep going here. Oh, Rondell Village. Forgot to mention them. Another great family-run hotel. Sorry, when you start naming names, you definitely forget people. Dawn says, "Throp. Luckily, my sister and I repaired our roof before Beryl, and the foresight of the person who did it. The hurricane tied down the roof. Very good. Then Beryl hit. Roof good. Melissa hit. Roof good. Awesome. Awesome. Happy to hear that. Real happy to hear that." Shauna, Julie Mango did a perfect demonstration of how house roof are taken off during hurricane. She talked about having hurricane straps. She's doing her part, educated the Jamaican public. Oh, I gotta check that out. I haven't seen that. Um, Kimberly says we simultaneously said with their lives when you said since slavery they have been paid for this. Yep. Oh, Tisha said the same thing about Julie Mango. Nope, I missed that one. Repentance says there needs to be more education on land reform and how people can get affordable homes. Agreed, agreed. Yeah, maybe I do something like that. Great one. Great. Let me thank you for that, Repentance. I'm gonna screenshot that comment so I don't forget that. Maybe do like a video on that and get some experts in on that. Maybe do that for Thropex in May. All right. Okay, I'm gonna get to Oh, yeah, 2.5 hours now. Yeah, we're 2.5 hours now. All right, let me get to some Thropex updates. We are so sent out a mass. If you're not on the email list, you can sign up for the email at Thropex.com, and you can sign up for the email, our newsletter. I sent out a newsletter today, as a matter of fact. And for many people have been coming on the streams for the last few weeks, and you probably already know that Thropex has been postponed until May 24th to 30th, 2026. And everybody who has bought Thropex tickets for 2025, your tickets are good for either May or November, or if you need to push to 2027 for some reason, no problem. But the value of your ticket is still there no matter what. And this goes for virtual tickets, any day tickets, tour tickets, everything. It's all good for the May or November. We're not holding back for Thropex 2026. Either ones, you will get the same level of value and experience for them for either one of those that you choose. I know, I think when I started doing this I think it was 2023, people were saying that I should be doing multiple Thropexes per year. Well, there you go. You got your wish. We got 2 Thropexes happening 2026. We'll see what that means and what it turns out to be. Honestly, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it in the sense that we got 2 back-to-back ones, and they're about 6 months apart, essentially. And I'm okay with that. I'm totally, totally okay with it. I think give people a option. I'm also opening it up as well. So we're going to open up ticket sales to Thropex, and we're going to open up ticket sales in January. So if you want tickets for Thropex May 2026, you can purchase your tickets in January. I guess I'll put the May one. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but you'll be able to purchase tickets. So if you couldn't come to this one, it'll be its own separate event, and then we'll also do one for November as well. So I'm excited for them both. This gives me such a great opportunity to just really dive in on some subjects that I otherwise might not have been able to, and it's going to be interesting how that looks. So I'm excited to announce and bring that to you all. The November, if you're on the email, the dates for May and November have already been set. And so you can choose which one you want to go to, whether you're an existing ticket holder or you're considering coming to a future Thropex. So what that means for this week, there are a bunch of people who still came in this week for Thropex anyway, and they have bought full suitcases of items to be distributed, which I can't thank them enough. I can't thank this community enough. But we are still doing Thropex activities this week. So we are deeming this Thropex Jamaica Relief Edition. And on Tuesday, we're actually going to be going to we're going to go to the White House area. And even before that, we're going to areas that have received little aid from what I understand up until this point. And so we're going to be going as a group. We're going to be taking a bus out there. And I also think, and I've been told this by multiple people, is that it's important for me to get out there to see what's happening. And so I've gone up, and specifically Black River. And they were just saying, you have to go see Black River. You can't just look in it. You need to understand what's going on, especially for what I do. And I will make it. I don't have anything. We're not going to bring everybody out there this week. But we're going to go to White House, and I hear that is bad enough. And Waterworks, which is the furthest east I have gone up until this point. And I figure it is also important for the people here at Thropex to also see it. And it's not a situation like we're going on a tour, like we're going to give out aid, but then it's also, I think a lot of Jamaicans too, especially the ones who are in Kingston and who are just, not all Kingstonians are like this. I think a lot, from what I've been told, they just don't understand how bad it really is, right? And to actually go and see it for yourselves, I think it's just going to be a different feeling and a different understanding. And I think it's important for especially for the folks who are coming that I know deeply care about Jamaica and want to be a part of the rebuilding process, just to really understand what the devastation is like and just get a good sense of it. And we're going to be doing that. So there's duality to that. In addition to that, on Wednesday, we're going to be having a full Thropex day. So we have a series of pianists. I'm thinking about music. Panelists that are going to be both governments, private sector, and also hoping for a very special building presentation that hasn't been 100% confirmed, but I'm really hoping for this. They are coming to Negril, and they're going to be making presentations all day. So it's literally a 9 to 5, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's going to be just like any other Thropex day, but it's really focused on rebuilding. If you have any type of ticket, and this doesn't disqualify you from using your ticket in the future at a future Thropex, any type of ticket, you will have access to the live stream. So we're actually going to be live streaming it to Thropex ticket holders. And I look at this as a bonus, and I'm always somebody who's going to give you as much value as humanly possible. And as we go through this, there are going to be opportunities. And somebody said this before, right? That I was having this discussion here at Travelers, and they were saying that like they feel bad that they are hey, because they were already interested in Jamaica and investing here, and that they feel bad that they're coming down here now and still looking for opportunities to invest in Jamaica. And I told them that you should not be feeling bad. And they were Jamaican, living abroad and looking to come back and move back home and invest back home. And I told them that they should not feel bad at all. And I can tell you all right now is that the Hawks they're circling. They're circling. They are folks out there that are, just as we talked about, that there are people who are using social media to benefit from this and also to elevate themselves. There are also people who may not necessarily have Jamaica's best intentions at heart that are looking at this in a very opportunistic way that is not necessarily in the best interest of Jamaica. And it's happening. And to me, and my perspective, especially if you are somebody, and I know most of the people here in this community have already and always been pro Jamaica and have already always believed in Jamaica before many Jamaicans believed in Jamaica. And we all know the naysayers that have been out there. Jamaica will never do this. Jamaica will never do that. I will never invest in Jamaica because of yada, yada, yada. And if you were one of these people who completely counter to that and have always believed in Jamaica and always wanted to invest in Jamaica, always want to move back here, retire here, your thinking should not be changed whatsoever. And I think now, more than any time else, he's like, we're going to still need you and still want you to come and be a part of this. And there are folks, again, who, again, may not have the best intentions, and they're just looking to extract value and to extract money out of this situation. And if they're doing it, you should be doing it, honestly. And I know still and this is coming from somebody who still has boots on the ground. We're doing aid next week. Like we're literally rebuilding houses for our team here at Travelers. And gotta have that duality. Because this is also a situation, unfortunately, but it can be avoided. But if done smartly, is that I'm also afraid that the wealth gap will increase here and across the spectrum, and it's just, it sucks to kind of see this happening. And that's why I'm like, man, we got to get out of this relief phase and get to the rebuilding phase and to the empowerment phase of getting these people land titles and then getting them mortgages and giving them the opportunity to create that generational wealth through real estate. And, and we got to think like this. People are going to come in here and take advantage. They're trying already. I'm telling you, they're trying already. And so I'm telling you, you should not feel bad. You should not feel like, oh, it's not like, no, you should not feel bad because the people who should feel bad are not feeling bad and they're looking at this to come and take advantage of the situation. I'm telling you, they're already doing it. They're already lining themselves up. All right, let's get some comments here. Evie says, I'm still invested in my country, Jamaica. That's what I love to hear. That's what I love to hear. Awesome. Kimberly says, Negril is heaven. What else we going? Kimberly says, are there financials to the people that shows where tourism dollars go? Accountability. So give me some more context there, Kimberly. I might be misunderstanding what you're saying, what you're asking. Sorry. The other Justin D says JA needs investors to come and rebuild for the people who live there, not for everyone to come enjoy JA in a comfortable way. Yes, but that incentive needs to be set up. That incentive needs to be set up. If you're going to ask investors from the private sector to come in and invest in Jamaica, or let's say, I'm assuming you're talking about, let's say the average Jamaican, right? They're going to need to make a profit off of that, right? And they're going to need to make money. There needs to be an incentive structure in place, whether it be by the government somehow subsidizing it. I don't know, but it can't be like nobody. Let's be realistic here. Like, there's nobody that's going to take on an altruistic mission of building houses for free for people to move into and they walk away. That's not the reality. How do we do this at scale to get people, developers, to come into Jamaica? And I'm sure there are many Jamaican developers, as a matter of fact, that have the ability to do this, to set this up in a way that they can make a profit, and they are incentivized to do this over and over and over again. Because as I said before, we are already in a housing crisis in terms of not building houses at a rate that we need to keep up with the demand in Jamaica. And now Hurricane Melissa has exacerbated that. All right, let's keep rolling here. Joe says, where do you think real estate prices will go countrywide? Do you think there will be a dip? Great question. I mean, we're gonna find out at Thropex on Wednesday, because I'm having developers and real estate experts from all over Jamaica come to Negril on Wednesday, and it's going to be a very interesting discussion, to say the least, and because like they're coming from different corners of Jamaica, and their experience of, oh, sorry, my knee's killing me. Their experience of Hurricane Melissa. I'm going to be so interested to hear, especially from the North Coast, especially from the South Coast, what the what those realtors have experienced, what their outlook is like, what kind of feedback have they been getting from their clients and the market. And I think this is like going to be the first time you're going to have all this brain power under one roof, and we're going to have all this data available. And I think there's going to be a lot of exchange of knowledge and a lot of information that's going to be exchanged. And people are going to learn so much from this. And they're going to be able to move with confidence in this area and that area, because after this conference. And I'm so happy I'm still doing it. I'm so happy I'm doing this version of it. And it's just going to just give people an understanding of what we are really up against as a country. And I think that's a great question, Joe. I don't know. I would be interested to hear what other real estate professionals are saying. But I think next week after Thropex, I think I'll have a good idea and a good answer for you, Joe. Kimberly says, you're speaking my language now, Throp. It's time for grassroots change, a huge mountain ahead where we can do this. Firefighters from Canada show up to California to help with fires. There you go. We can do this. Not for free, but better conditions that they can afford. Fair enough. Fair enough. Understood, Justin. Um, Thought, do you have time frame on Wednesday Thropex panel? Yeah, it's 9 to 5, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Wednesday. I need a Wednesday Thropex ticket. Well, are you in Jamaica, Joe? Are you in Jamaica? Irving says Jamaica will, excuse me, Negril will always be home. Negril is my wife and I's most favorite place in the world, and as our retirement plan, we are coming home. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Man, I wish we were having a man. We have such, as you say, Negril, we have such good crazy deals. And for those who were on these live streams before we were coming, before Melissa happened, you already know what I was, some of the plans that I was alluding to, opportunities that I was alluding to. They still exist. They still exist here in Negril. They're still going to be here. Probably, unfortunately, probably not after this year. I mean, this is like over the next few months. But if you're here for Thropex, you won't see it at Thropex, but you'll have an opportunity to do it out to visit and see these opportunities outside of Thropex this week, I should say. Let's keep rolling here. Shona says, I'll be arriving late afternoon. Will this be recorded? Yes. So we're live streaming it for Thropex ticket holders on Wednesday. And it will be recorded. Yes. So you'll have access to it. Tisha says, I have two great panelists that you need for Thropex in November, Gary Madelon and Chris Williams of different investment properties. Please put me in touch. Put me in touch, Tisha. I would love to connect with them. All right. I think we are going to wrap it up here. We have been going almost 3 hours now. I don't need to break the 3-hour mark. I'm good on that. And thank you. Winter asks, what is the average wage working in hotel there? It depends. It really depends. It really depends. And it's also going to differ when you are, it depends on how long you've been working here. It depends on your position. And then also it depends on the time of year, because we have gratuity, and you're going to make more money in the winter as opposed to the summer because of gratuity. Do you think we'll need more medical facilities? Absolutely. We don't have enough hospitals. We don't have enough modern hospitals as well. How can I get your, can you email me, Tisha? Throp@thropmedia.com. That would be great. Please email me. Let me put that in the, throw that in the comments section there. I'm also gonna put our GoFundMe, and I forgot to say this. Thank you all so much, everybody who donated to the GoFundMe. We are at $64,000 US, which is absolutely amazing. This is gonna go so far and gonna do so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm putting the link there in the description in the comment section there. I can't thank you all enough. I'm going to make a thank you video on that alone. Like, this has been amazing, 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 amazing that we're able to raise so much, and you are changing so many people's lives, honestly. And we've already been documenting what we've been doing, obviously doing it in a very respectful way, with our team that's been going out there. Many people have been volunteering and literally building back people's cribs, building back people's homes. Like, it's so crazy. And I also can't, I was talking to my friend the other day, like, I just can't believe this is my reality right now, that this is my life and that this is what we're doing every day. I was talking to Matthew Wallace. You guys have seen him on my podcast, Scotch Boys. And he's just saying the same thing. Like, he's like, I just can't believe that this is what we do every day, and we get up and this is what we're doing. Like, so he's converted Matthews and donated Matthews Kitchen to World Central Kitchen. And so he's doing like, I think 1,000 meals a day from Matthews restaurant here in the grill. And then of course we have our generator. He's like, yo, I smell like curry. He smelled like curry. He's like, I smell like curry and diesel, because we're always making runs for diesel to fill up our generators. We're helping our team members, we're helping staff, we're helping the community. And this is what we do every day. Every day, this is what we do. And we're both like, man, I can't believe this is what we're doing. But this is the reality. And like I said before, this is a responsibility. And because we got spared, and it's a privilege to be able to be in this position to help. It really, really is. It is a privilege to do this. And we're going to keep doing this. Like, this is a marathon. We're going to be in this for a while, for the foreseeable future. But yeah, it's still like, I'm supposed to be having dinner with a bunch of you right now at Thropex, and welcoming you to the hotel and telling you about the festivities that we have ahead. Crazy, just how life just changes from one day to the next, right? This is the reality. But like I said, this is a privilege to be doing this, and this is great that we're able to do this and able to help out in the ways that we can. So thank you again all so much for all the donations that you have made, and the contributions that you have made, the thoughts, the prayers, the suggestions, everything, all the positive stuff. Thank you. I will absolutely be making a video thanking you all. And like I said, we're documenting what we're doing, and we're going to be sharing it in a very, very respectful way as we move forward. So wishing you all a great week ahead. And for those joining on the Thropex live stream on Wednesday, we'll get the email out to you, and you can take a look and join us live on Wednesday during the panel discussions. Have a great week ahead, everybody. Thanks for joining, and enjoy the rest of your summer.
For those that don't know me, my name is Winthrop Wellington, and I've had the privilege of calling Negril, Jamaica my home for the past 19 years. And over the past few days, I've been sharing with you the devastating on-the-ground effects of Hurricane Melissa on Negril and the wider Westmoreland parish. And unfortunately, Westmoreland has been one of the parishes that has been hit the hardest in the wake of Hurricane Melissa. And in my travels in the last few days, I've seen things that are nothing short of heartbreaking. And people have completely lost their homes. Their lives have been turned upside down, and they need all the help that they possibly can get. And I'm using this platform and reaching out to you, my community, whether you are brand new here or you've been with me for years. We want to try to get people back on their feet. And we want to start with the most basics of needs, which is food, water, and shelter. And how I would like to do this with this platform and with this GoFundMe is to start with the Travelers Beach Resort team here in Negril, and then spread out to the folks that I know personally that have been affected by this storm. And in doing so, I want to do it in a way that there's no red tape, no bureaucracy. Literally, donations, fund support will go directly towards buying these materials and getting it out to the people who need it most quickly. And we've already begun doing that because we couldn't wait for donations. Over the last few days, my brother has literally been going out with his truck to different communities without cell service and also without a clear line of gasoline and petrol, searching for different members of our staff and different members of our team. And we unfortunately haven't got to all of them. We haven't heard from all of them, but those that we have got to, many of them are in really, really disparaging positions, and we've already begun helping them and getting them supplies, getting them building supplies, and literally sending our maintenance crews out to their homes to help them rebuild, at least so they can be stable. And the thing with this situation is that we're going to be here for a few months. And when I say here, I mean no electricity, no running water, maybe not consistent, sustainable access to internet. And in my mind, it's like, how can we set these folks up to be okay, relatively okay, for the next few months? And that's where I want to put as much support as possible. So once again, whether you've been with me for many, many years, or you're just joining this community, I'm so grateful that you're here. And no matter how small or how large, in respect to the support that you give to this GoFundMe, it's going to go a long way and it's going to make a huge difference. And what's happening right now in Jamaica is bigger than any one of us. But together, I know we can make an incredible difference. So in closing, I thank you for your time, I thank you for your generosity, and I thank you for your consideration. And let's get these folks back on their feet as quickly as humanly possible.